whole time.
It's the friends we made along the way. Oh my God. Okay, you guys, welcome in. Let's play the theme song, shall we? Now that I'm kind of set up over here. Wait, I'm scared to turn this on. Okay. I never know what's going to happen if I just turn my iPad on. Okay.
It's a brand new day and she's back again.
What?
Get yourself a beverage, let's get settled in. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae. Hey, 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 all our favorite heathens gathered in one place.
Share out the live, you guys, and tap the
Our
screen.
favorite creators on display. It's Decon Q&A with CrystalJae.
Good morning, YouTube. Good morning, everybody.
Get ready for the fun. Decon Q&A with CrystalJae.
Good morning. I hope you guys do have a beverage. I hope all the heathens gather. They will only gather if you like, share, and do all the good stuff, though. So make sure you're doing that. Do the heart me's, collect your team points, do all the good stuff, okay, you guys? Matthew and Jaaron, how have you guys been? It's been a while. It's been a while.
It's been a while. We're still around. That's how it's been.
Yeah.
For
Are
me.
you still writing? Are you guys still working
Yeah.
on this second book? I'm very excited about the second book.
Yeah, I apologize for the wait, but we are writing it.
That's good. That's good. I'm really excited about it. Okay, if you guys don't know, Matthew and Jaaron are the authors of the book Christ Before Jesus. I actually don't know why I don't have my copy with me right now. Like, I have an autographed copy of this book, you guys. I also have it on Audible. I have it on Audible and an autographed copy. But yeah, Christ Before Jesus. It's a book about whether Christ is historically, Jesus Christ specifically, was a real person, and if Paul was a real person. It's very, very good. For me, it was hard work to read this book because it's so much information just like packed in there, and you want to have every piece of it. And I can't, I am just the worst. I can't remember, whether it's Tertullian or so I have to just constantly go back to the notes on that because I'm like, I know what you're saying is wrong because my friend's book says it's wrong, but I can't remember. Let me go find it. I know that's not what Pliny the Younger said, okay? But I can't remember what he said. Hang on, let me go look that up. Anyway, so it's a lot of information. Make sure, if you can, to get yourself a copy of the book itself and not just the Audible, because you're going to want to take notes. You're going to want to write things down. You're going to maybe put some tabs in your book so you can reference things quickly. Anyway, I have a course for you guys today, 10 icebreaker questions. Then we're going to invite people up, and then we're going to play your favorite game and mine, Divine or Decline, okay?
Oh, I am excited. I have been wanting to play this game ever since I played it the first time here on the first episode of Decon Q&A.
That's right.
Full disclosure, I only caught how to play about halfway through it. Apparently Matthew knew the entire time, and I was kind of confused, but I'm ready to redeem myself.
All right, all right.
Let's do this.
Okay, I'm pretty excited. I know that there's a lot of people who love to play at home. We have stickers for that. If you are a subscriber, you've got some Divine or Decline stickers so that you can play at home. Yeah, and we don't have a leaderboard yet because everybody sucks at it, frankly. That's what the deal is. So, they plagiarize off each other. It's very easy to get them all confused. So, All
There's a
right,
good
here we
point.
go with the iceberg. It's true, right? And I'm really good at making them up because I'm good at plagiarizing too. Just saying. You know. Okay, what's the funniest inside joke you two had as kids that still cracks you up today?
The funniest inside joke.
Uh,
Oh no.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
Are we thinking the same
no.
thing? Which one are you thinking of? I thought of you.
Oh no.
Another one.
Oh no. I was thinking of P and P. Basement.
Oh.
Okay, so all right.
I mean, is
do
that
we
a
have to
joke?
explain it, or do we just like say it and people are like, we don't know what that is?
No, if
No,
you gotta give
I
at least
just
a
want to hear
baseline.
it. Yeah, I need
Okay.
a baseline.
Oh man. Okay.
I'll-
Well, are there any that aren't like hypersexual?
Would there be
You
between
think
two
you know us? Yeah.
young guys? I
Yeah.
don't think there would be.
I'm trying to think.
Well, the thing is, it's not about us technically.
Yeah.
I can give a cleaner version of Party and Play.
Go for it.
Okay, I'll try. So, okay, I guess Jaaron's said this plenty of times, and we probably mentioned it last time we were here. We grew up in the same little town, and it's in North Texas. We grew up in the First Baptist Church. And, you know, of course, all members of the First Baptist Church of this little town are upstanding citizens and run most of the town's government. So anyways, and then also many of those people taught Sunday school. And so we had Sunday school was kind of tiered, and you'd go from like 7th, 8th grade, and that'd be one teacher. 9th, 10th would be the next teacher. Well, the 7th, 8th grade teacher was just like a really cool guy. He was really into technology. He was the local court reporter. And he was really friendly. He invited people over to his house, and he taught the guys, the boys, I guess Sunday school, basically, and did some other stuff like youth trips and things like that. And anyways, we got into high school, early college, and his house got raided by multiple levels of police, including like the Secret Service and other things.
FBI.
And FBI, and turns out that as the court reporter in small towns in Texas, they are the only ones, at least in this town, that have access to the evidence locker for the local county court. And so this person was going to the evidence locker, stealing drugs, and then using that to lure in people our age. At this time, it was
Oh
like,
my
you know,
God.
19 or 20, who he knew had
Issues with it.
issues with it because he was there for the court cases where, you know,
They were tried.
lured them into his basement for what he would call party and play.
Oh my God!
And you can kind of guess
It
where
was
that would go.
insane.
And
Just
the
like the levels of debauchery that were all going on in these like events or
In
whatever.
these party
is
and play
insane.
sessions. And so anytime,
Wow.
so we still talk about party and play. Now it's a little, you know, when we do our party and play, it's nowhere near the level.
Yeah, it's
That.
just like, hey,
I hope not.
you wanna, Matthew
You're
would
not
basically be
luring
like, hey,
people,
you wanna
They come
come over to,
voluntarily.
you wanna come over and we'll eat like Taco Bell or something, and we'll do a party play or something. Like that's basically like it just means get together now.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
We're trying to
it
reclaim
does.
the phrase.
Oh my gosh, no. Okay, the inside joke I have with my family that we still laugh about to this day, and we just say it to this day, is one time when I was pregnant. Okay, pregnancy brain is a real thing, you guys. Quit saying it's not. Okay, I was pregnant, and I had just finished eating, and I didn't eat all my food, and I asked like my son or my husband, like, "Hey, do you want the rest of this?" My eyes were bigger than my head. And ever since I said that, whenever somebody's too full, they say, "I'm sorry, I can't finish this. My eyes are bigger than my head."
Eyes is bigger than my head.
Yeah, so yeah, that's still the one we say to this day.
Nice.
And yeah, it's a little bit more wholesome than what you just told
Oh,
me,
yeah.
Matthew.
Oh yeah. Well,
I gave the
think-
wholesome version of our story.
But that's true, you did. You really did.
I
You did
think
good.
that when you're raised in a really small town, in like rural Texas or rural America or anywhere, like any kind of craziness just absolutely shocks everyone, and so it just kind of permeates everything. But yeah. I think the only other one, and I'll share this one, and I think because it actually I guess ties in with me, is oh man, I don't even know how I can explain it. So when I was younger, I was raised within Christianity and everything like that, and they had certain views over sexual immorality or sexual immorality, that kind of thing. And a conversation that happened between me and a mutual friend of Matthew and I, we'll call, for the sake of just like names or whatever, we'll call him Tim. So I was having a conversation with Tim, and I told him, hey, I asked him, do you self-gratify, if you know what I mean?
Yes.
And because we were talking about that, somehow that topic came up. And he was like, no, I've never done that. And I was like, how? Like, we were like 16 at the time. I was like, what do you mean you haven't? Like, what do you mean? How does that not happen? And he just said, I've just never done it. And I was like, okay, whatever. And I didn't really believe him, but we just moved on. So later on in college, I guess he discovered the mystic art of self-gratification. And he couldn't wait to tell me that was something that he had finally experienced or whatever, because we had that conversation so many years before. And he goes, so I self-gratified the other day, and he just randomly brings it up, and I'm like, what the hell? And he goes, and I thought of you. And I was like, whoa. Hold up. But he meant the conversation. And so
right. Or
whenever
did he?
Matthew and I hear the phrase "thought of you," like something happened and I thought of you, we're instantly teleported to that moment.
Yes. Speaking of self-gratification, my daughter-in-law and I, believe it or not, had a conversation about this morning. I just thought because do you guys know the story on Reddit about the guy with 2 broken arms? And that's just what I'm gonna say. Like, do you know the story of the guy with 2 broken arms?
I mean, I can see where it might be going, but I mean,
I've never heard it, but I
I
can
don't
tell.
think you really do. I don't think you really know where this is going. Anyway, she is pregnant. My daughter-in-law is pregnant right now, and she's a doctor. And she's been having a lot of troubles during her pregnancy. And she has lost a baby before in the past. And so she's talking about what she could do. She just started this job, too. And she's like, and I said, like, have you talked about, like, maybe having accommodations? Because according to the Americans Disabilities Act, if you're pregnant and you're having difficulties, you do qualify as disabled, and they have to do accommodations for you legally. And so she goes like, oh, I could talk about, I mean, even if it's legal, as a doctor, it's hard for you to get accommodations, okay? Because, like, what are you going to sit down the whole time? Like, that's not going to happen as a doctor, right? In an emergency room, by the way. She's an emergency room doctor, okay? Yeah. And she goes, well, the problem is that the guy who would need to take over, like, some of my duties and stuff just broke both of his arms. And I said, oh, my God. And I just started laughing. She's like, what are you laughing about? I go, do you know this story about the guy with 2 broken arms on Reddit? And she goes, no. And I said, well, if I have to know this story, now you do too. And now all of you are going to know this story too. And you can thank me later. It's only 8 of you, but there's some of you over on YouTube too. And you're going to hate me for telling you this story. There was this young man who broke both of his arms. And one day, and he's a teenager. a teenager. Okay, we're gonna put him at 16, but it could be a little younger. But I was not older. It was not older. And his mother comes in, and she decides to just start doing that for him. And he's like, "What's going on?" And she said, "Well, honey, you're a teenager, and it gets pent up, and so somebody needs to release this pressure for you."
Oh my God.
And then eventually the visits became full on.
Oh my God.
And he's a grown-ass man who says, we don't talk about it anymore. It was just something that happened, and
Yeah.
I'm okay, and we have a great relationship, and I love my mom, and everything's good.
I hope you do.
And I can't, whenever somebody now says that somebody broke their arms, I can't help but picture that. And now you all will too. So I shared that with you this
Thank
morning.
you so much. I will let you know whenever I see somebody in public that has two broken arms. I will call you up and I'll say, "I thought of you."
That would be the perfect ending to that. I thought of you. Oh my God. Okay. Who got in more trouble growing up, and what was the dumbest reason?
Who got in more trouble?
We were pretty good
Yeah.
kids.
And were you?
Yeah.
We actually were.
I mean, it would be a
What was the
low-level trouble if
dumbest
one of us
reason?
beat the... Oh, okay, so there's a lot of dumb reasons we should have gotten in trouble.
Oh.
Uh,
Oh,
but
man.
in terms of actually getting caught and getting in trouble...
I mean, we
started
did
school-
things that were straight up, like, federally illegal.
Yeah, well, it's past...
Okay, don't admit to that on here. Don't.
Well, I
you
think we're
did
past
not.
the time...
Yeah, we're past
okay.
the statute of limitations. But
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so, I mean, me personally, I got in trouble for starting a school newspaper my senior year, and, like, I mean, it wasn't trouble, but it was.
What
I mean,
was the paper about?
it was a general paper, and this school didn't like that they didn't have control over it, and then, so, like, I got, like, the ACLU involved, and stuff like that, and then my parents and grandmother was like, "Hey, we're gonna take your car keys away if you don't stop," and I was like, "Oh, fine."
God, Mom.
I know.
Dang it.
So, yeah, otherwise the school was going to get sued, which wouldn't have worked out well because my mom worked for that district at the time. So I think that's probably
Oh.
covered. But in
That's
terms
a
of, like-
good kind of trouble, though. Fighting the resistance. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but in terms of actual trouble, I always think back to the time we nearly did get caught. We had a habit of borrowing public signage.
like traffic cones and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
and then
Yeah.
misplacing them in new places that might be obstructive.
Yeah, so we were in a band, and as a result, we needed to transport a lot of equipment to shows. And so my parents let me drive this old, I mean, it wasn't that old, but it was
old.
like a minivan. We took the seats out of the back so that we could put all these
Yeah.
like amps and drums and stuff. But then we found out that, like, realistically, we never need to put those seats back in. We can just, like, pile a whole bunch of our friends or whatever in the back of the van.
Yeah.
So we then realized that we could pile other things in there too, and we would drive to construction sites or roadwork zones, and we would steal the cones and put them in the back, and then drive to other places and then put them, like, across the street and stuff. And
Oh my God.
but it was absolutely hilarious because if just imagine, if you will, driving in the middle of the night in rural Texas on a state highway, and it's only like a 1 or 2 lane road, and it's got cones all the way across, and no discernible construction or anything like that that's happening, and you just stop. And we would just sit back and watch as cars would just line up for like a mile.
That
We
is
sit like this back
hilarious.
in our car and watch.
Oh yeah, we would just
That
sit
is-
back in our car and just sit and watch from the side. And
That is hilarious.
eventually what would happen is a highway patrolman or a state trooper or something or a city cop would eventually show up and be like, "What the hell are these cones out for?" And so they would take them off the road, and then they'd drive around to try to catch whoever put them there. Or they'd look around, and that's when you'd scatter. Everybody would just leave.
Oh, that's hilarious. Okay, if you go, oh, what? Go ahead.
No, it's fine. I was just gonna.
Okay.
I was gonna double down on the last time we ever did that because that time was scary enough. It scared us into stopping. I think it was the last time, but basically we were in the car. We had to bail from the car, and they had their lights on us. Like
they're
we
like
were
spotlight.
hiding behind different houses. It was on the car, and we were like, I don't know how he didn't see us. But then he just turned around and kept going, and then we returned to Jaaron's parents' house, and yeah. Then we didn't do it anymore after that.
Oh yeah, well you didn't, but I.
But Jaaron was like, I still do it to this day. I don't know what you're talking about. It's a pastime.
But yeah, I mean, it's just
I'll
like
be
low
out there
level
at
stuff
8
like
o'clock
that.
tonight, you know?
Well,
Jared's got plans.
When you're growing up out there in rural Texas, like realistically, the only thing you have to do, if it's not Friday night and therefore football night, it's you would either drink or do parties or something like that. We didn't do that. That wasn't our thing. Still to this day, I don't think either of us have ever been drunk. Like we just
Really?
like that's just not something that we do. So yeah, like growing up, we just had to find other ways to entertain ourselves.
Well, growing up, Crystal did drink. Crystal has been drunk. Crystal got drunk her first time when she was like 11 or 12 years old. Not intentionally. My mom and dad, we had a 25th wedding anniversary for them at our house. And people just like would leave their champagne glasses all over the place with champagne still in them. My friend and I, we didn't know what champagne could do to you or anything. We just knew we weren't really supposed to have it, and this was our opportunity to have it because everybody kept doing it. So we walked around the whole house just drinking up champagne glasses everywhere we could find them. We were just walking, we found one, we drank it. And we were so drunk. And she lived across the street, and all I remember was telling my mom and dad, like, I'm gonna go stay the night at Lisa's or whatever. And they were drunk. I don't think they even realized we were drunk because they were drunk. And we just stumbled across the street. I remember waking up feeling so sick, so very, very sick. And I was like, what did I do? Like, what was that even? But yeah, that was the first time of many times. If your friendship were a movie, what would it be? It could be a movie that exists. It could be a movie you make up. What movie would it be?
Passion of the Christ.
And you guys are the ones nailing him to the cross. No.
Yeah, I mean that's pretty solid. I would maybe say, for some reason I was thinking Dumb and Dumber.
Yeah, I was thinking that or Wedding Crashers or something.
Yeah, Wedding
Oh,
Crashers.
that would be good. That would be good. Did you guys know that passion meant suffering?
So I had a general idea because I was looking through, I think it's Melito of Sardis text, and it's called Pascha, and so that's where the word passion comes from, and it doesn't mean like romantic passion, it's from Pascha, and it's also very close to the word of Passover.
Oh, I didn't know about that. But I just heard some Christian come up yelling it belligerently because you know how they come up hot and heavy right at the beginning? Passion! That's where we get compassion from. And so I had to do a little Google research to see if he was right. And that is why it's called the Passion of the Christ, is because, he was trying to be artsy-fartsy and be like, instead of saying the suffering of the Christ, he said the passion of the Christ. But anyway, I digress. We'll get back to you now.
I was actually
Wraith
wrong.
of Ash does. I would say that probably grown up, our the movie of us would probably be Hot Rod, like with some of our friends and stuff like that. Hot Rod would be a good example of our life, kind of growing up. Either that or like Napoleon Dynamite, maybe.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I remember that movie. Yeah, I just looked it up. So Pascha is Passover. It says Pascho is in Greek suffering, and Passio is where it comes from in English for passion of Christ.
Okay. That makes sense. I just, heard somebody being irate about it, and I had to look it up. I'm like, sometimes the stuff that they blabber is actually true stuff. They just don't really know when to use it in their arguments. And okay, that might be a true thing. Let me look that up. Matt GPT is my favorite AI. I do use Matt GPT all the time. It's my favorite. Okay. If you had to describe your best friend using only food metaphors, what would they be?
Oh, these are tough questions.
You always say that. You guys should be prepared by now. They're stupid and ridiculous questions.
They're great, though.
I don't know how I would be prepared to describe Matthew as a food.
You could have ate something yesterday and thought about it, okay? I don't know.
I thought about you as I was eating.
Yeah. I had some meat in my mouth and I thought about you.
Oh my God.
Just had a big old piece of chicken in there. Man. I would say it would probably be a cow. Some type of head of cattle.
Just a side of beef. Just a
big slab of beef right there.
Yeah, just some big old T-bone steak.
I guess I'll go with
Don't say chocolate, you son of a bitch.
I was trying to think of it. What's the knockoff brand of soda that we always used to get when we'd hang out at your house?
It's like Sam's Choice or whatever.
Yes. And that's not necessarily describing you. It's just like what comes to mind, because like that was another thing when we were back in that time.
You're a generic soda.
Yeah, the fuck.
You called me a cow. I mean, you can't really compare.
I just said that because you're a damn rancher. Like,
yeah, Mr.
you're
Pig
like,
would kind of.
Your parents were poor. Sam's Choice.
You're effervescence, but you're cheap, okay?
Well, that was like the thing we would have because, like you said, we were in a band and then we did all kinds of pranks and stuff. And we just go over. His parents had this, it was a garage that was converted into basically a studio room.
Yeah.
And so we just like hang out there. And what we do is we have huge things of like the knockoff root beer or knockoff like orange flavor soda or like the Coke or whatever that, whatever they had, Sprite, and we drink like a whole container by the time the night was over.
Oh yeah, that was our party and play.
Yeah, that was party and played.
We're Sam's Choice.
We're frugal.
I'm gonna just start calling you Sam's Choice whenever I see you, Jaaron. Okay. What's one childhood dream you both had that never happened, but would still be hilarious if it did? Excuse me, I have a cough.
The hilarious part really threw me off.
Yeah, hilarious would be thrown off, but I mean, I think both would probably say the same thing as far as a childhood dream goes.
What is it?
It would be playing music.
Yeah, I was about to say that if the band took off, which would be hilarious at this point. Because we're in our 30s.
If we were in a Christian rock band today.
That would be hilarious.
Oh, man.
I really want to see some of your stuff. Have you posted it anywhere for us to be able to mock you guys?
Yes, actually. Good luck finding. Okay, I say good luck finding it, but people have found it every time I've said that. So But you don't even search our names. That's the thing. Like, I don't know how people find it because our names are not linked to it, as far as I know.
No,
'Cause we
mine.
have it, oh, yours is? Oh, okay. Maybe that's how people find it. Hey, hello.
Uh,
Yeah, so it's out there. I think we had one music video that we actually released. We recorded one or two others that didn't get finished. And then we have like a live performance on somebody's like phone from 2011 or something. So it's not super great. But we have music that's not out there that's recorded. So
Yeah.
I really want to hear some of that. You really should do everybody a favor and post that in your channel on somebody's Discord, Jaaron, because you have a few channels out there. Just pop it in one of them for me. I'll find it. And I just want to hear it so bad.
Honestly, like, unironically, I'll listen to stuff every once in a while from, like, back when we made music together and stuff. Like, I mean, yeah, it's kids, and yeah, it's Christian, but at the same time, like, it isn't bad. You know,
it wasn't
it's not
worship music.
No, it's not worship music, and it's not cringe really. It's just,
Our comedy band was pretty cringe, but that was intentional.
Yeah, it was more on supposed to be that way.
I have a very cringe video that if I can find sometime, I will post it. I was a videographer and a photographer and a Christian. Okay. So I made horrible, horrible Christian videos for the youth. You know, like one time I videotaped the water coming out of my bathtub, like just water coming out of the bathtub, and made a whole music video with the kids dancing around that water and green screening it. And I don't remember why, but it had something to do with, obviously, you know how Jesus is the water or some shit. I don't know. I don't know. But it is so cringy. And if I find it, I'll post it for everybody. I'm in it. My kids are in it. It's just so typical, like early 2000 Christian garbage. It's horrible. It's really bad. But I didn't sing or play musical instruments or anything. I just did the horrible producing and directing and editing of this video. Although I think the green screen was pretty good.
As cringe as it seems like it would be, like, we did okay, like, especially for where we were and how young we were, we did pretty well. Like, we opened up, we played a festival. Played a festival that had Bowling for Soup was there. 38 Special was there. So yeah, I mean, it was something that, you know, we didn't know that, you know, we were cringe at the time, you know, but
right.
I think even looking back on it, it wasn't that bad.
It was decent music. I mean, the music wasn't bad. Yeah. The most cringe thing about it is that in the music video, we decided to cast all of our now ex-girlfriends in the music video.
I think that every very famous musician has done that, Matthew. So I just think that you're on the road to fame if you tell me that.
Yeah, there we go.
Yes, because they all have their exes in their videos. Or if you're like Taylor Swift, you just write about your exes and make a video, you know?
Yeah, that's really what we should have done. Instead of including them, we should have texted them.
That's right. If you switched lives for a week, what would be the first thing you'd do as the other person?
I guess I'd go on TikTok.
My wife to drive.
Wait, what?
I said, teach my wife to drive.
Oh. I was about to say, I was just going to go on TikTok.
You just go.
I don't have time to go on TikTok here, really.
No. So Matthew drives a ton, and it's because his wife doesn't drive, and so he drives a lot and goes all over the area and stuff like that. And so for me, I'd be like, no, I'm not driving everybody everywhere. Like, you're gonna have to learn to drive on your own.
You're gonna have to learn.
Yeah.
Well, that was like I expected you guys to like mess with each other or something. Like I would go do this just to embarrass, like go on TikTok and say something very incriminating. That would be funny. See, that's what I would do to my best friend.
No, I would instantly try to improve his life.
Right? Yeah.
I
I
know.
think like
Look
that
at
was
you.
that was one thing. We were in a band, but one thing was that he and I were normally like the ones that would plan and do the pranks on other people. We never really did stuff to each other. I'm pretty sure we made some other band
Okay.
members pretty miserable.
Oh, for sure.
Oh yeah, we did. Yeah, now that I think about it, we definitely made some pretty miserable.
Yeah.
But we never really did that to each other.
No. And we've
Really,
never
I
we've never even
I
been
used-
like we've been like opposed, like as far as in like an argument, like different sides of a situation, or different side, not situation, but like different sides of a like a topic or something.
a stance,
But
yeah.
I don't think I've ever been mad at him. I don't
No.
think.
Ooh,
I don't
that's
think so.
nice.
Yeah, we've always got along. So I mean,
My best friend growing up was a girl named Carol. She passed away in 2018, but I picked on her so bad. Okay, but we like she did it back. Like we just did give and take like that. But my favorite thing to do to her was when we were in a very large, crowded place like Disneyland. I would just start belting out "Happy Birthday to You" really loud, and everybody would join in, and she would be going, "It's not my birthday," and I'll go, "She's lying, and she's just, you guys
Oh,
come
that is
over here,"
awful.
and I just did it all the time, like any time of year. Okay, so it was never her actual birthday, and I did it all the time to her, like just in the most random spot at the most random moment. I would just start breaking out and song. Also, she had a big nose, and I used to be able to do a Joan Rivers impression. She was very subconscious about. I have a pretty big nose too, so I thought it was funny. Anyway, I used to do a very good Joan Rivers impression. I cannot do it now, but I would be like, out of the blue, like nobody's doing anything. These are just really random moments. I would just go, "Why are you guys all staring at her nose? She's a lovely girl. Quit looking at her nose. Look at her eyes. Her eyes are beautiful." And she would be like, "Oh my God, shut up." Yeah, so.
Yeah,
that was my
I
best
definitely
friend.
don't think we would be. I definitely don't think we would prank each other. I don't think.
yeah.
I don't.
Yeah,
think
we
so.
pranked each other a lot. She pranked me quite a bit too, but I don't really remember those as much as I remember the ones I did to her. Okay, so what's the most ridiculous? Oh, you haven't been in any arguments at all. So what is a stance that you guys are posing on? What is the stance? What is any of the stances you oppose?
We went back and forth pretty seriously on John the Baptist, but that's really the biggest thing I can think of.
I can only really think of like a small handful of things, maybe three things, including John the Baptist.
So what is the contention about John the Baptist? One of you believes he was real, one of you doesn't. What is
Yeah,
it?
Basically.
like how to kind of view him in like Christ before Jesus, like how like our stance on whether or not he was likely real or just like another person written into the story or into Antiquities of the Jews from Josephus. And I posited that I believed that he was real because it didn't line up with too terribly much with the Christian version of John the Baptist. But then, if I remember correctly, Matthew was more concerned with how there were already characters that were similar to John the Baptist in Josephus's works, that it seemed like maybe John the Baptist was just an idea, a later fictional character.
More or less. I mean, I had no idea the co-author goes live too. I don't very much. But
About
yeah,
every
yeah.
6 months, he'll be live with me. So you should follow me. That's why you
Yes,
should
yes,
follow me right
definitely
now.
follow
Subscribe
and
to me right
like.
now.
Yeah, and then a little tap for hearts. We got over 10,000, so
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it's
yeah,
it's headed up.
yeah. But yeah, I guess for me, because it was back when we were writing Christ Before Jesus, when the first conversation about him came up. Because because we really did. I know people probably think like, oh, they wrote this book because they already decided he didn't exist, Jesus didn't exist, and so they're just
Yeah.
trying to push it. But actually, that's not what started this at all. We really went in and then we did the stylometry and we're like, whoa, that doesn't match with anything. And then so we took a long time to understand like what we were seeing with the stylometry, making sure we understood how it worked, etc. And then when you get to that point, and we also we pushed that, Paul wasn't real either. So then you naturally just question like everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
yeah, what kind of name is the Baptist?
The
Yeah,
Baptist.
Yeah. What even is
and
that for a last name? Who, what?
yeah, and the only thing that you really have is the gospel and a passage in Josephus. And so I disputed the passage in Josephus, and Jaaron was like, no, it's probably real. And then they just, because we knew they used Josephus writing the
Yeah.
gospel, so reasonably, he could have been in Josephus, and then they just elaborated and picked a character. So yeah,
Was he written
Uh,
about anywhere else in no, really? For some reason I thought John the Baptist was written about in other works more. And I thought
no.
like for sure like cuz Herod is, right? Like Herod we know
yeah,
was real, right?
yeah. And
I pictured him
Pilate,
like
yeah.
Herod, but then they exaggerated on the story of who he was or whatever. That's how I kind of pictured him.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, I think a clear indication that John the Baptist is probably real is the fact that the Marcion's Evangelion doesn't have him doing anything, really. It mentions him in like passing as if he was already dead, but it doesn't have him doing anything. He doesn't have a speaking line. He's not the cousin of Jesus, obviously. Jesus doesn't get baptized by him. There's no connection. So I would say that just kind of shows that he was just a real dude that was alluded to in the text, and then eventually they decided to bring him in more as a main character or a bigger character.
Okay, now that we're speaking about this, I just heard, I remember things Christians say, and then it makes me think about them when I'm having other conversations. A Christian was recently saying something about like Jesus had the Holy Spirit since he was the first person to have the Holy Spirit, but that's not really true according to this story. John the Baptist is when he leaps in his mother's belly, and Jesus doesn't receive the Holy Spirit until John the Baptist baptizes him. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of as if John the Baptist kind of gives him that ability, kind of.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But it's very strange. There's a lot of weird like mysteries to the Gospels, certain ones and stuff that are kind of lost on us today, and so we interpret them as different things or just kind of throw our hands up and say we don't know what that is. But it meant something to the particular sect that was writing that gospel.
Yeah, whenever you see something, anything in the gospel, my general principle for pretty much all written texts, especially these, is that you just have to assume the author wrote what they wanted. They weren't constrained by history, because even if there was a history to it, authors of that time were very willing to just throw that out the window to write what they wanted and get their theological or philosophical or whatever point across. And so whenever you see John the Baptist doing this, and then in the next gospel he's doing something slightly different, it's because whether he existed or not, they were going to do with him what they wanted to do to make their point. Because did he come before Jesus? Was that like a divine thing, or was it just like a historical thing that they thought like, well, he historically came before, so we just have to put him as active before Jesus? Or was he made up? Yes. Anyways,
Wait, are you saying John the Baptist is made up? Is that what you're saying?
did I say that?
Did
I don't think that. Let's get them in an argument for the first time in their lives right here on my show.
What is happening?
Okay.
What is happening?
Well,
I got a book right here with your name on it that says that he was real.
Hey,
So you can,
we will be admitting we
and
were
I'm
wrong
going to
in
quote,
some places.
eat shit.
No,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, somebody asked in the chat, can we talk about the Trinity?
Yeah. Do you want to talk
It's
about
also-
that?
It's also made up.
Yeah.
And what's the
Spoiler
what,
alert,
what-
it's also made.
what's the history on that though?
I mean, so there's like the general like history and understanding that it didn't, even with like a mainstream consensus, that it was not around for a long time, and that passage, the Johannine comma, was added way later. And that's the only thing that mentions the Trinity in the New Testament. My take on it, and it's probably similar to Jaaron's take, is that basically, Marcion kicks this all off, and Marcion is pretty flatly polytheistic, whether he believed in 2 or 3 or multiple gods. He at least had more than one, and he's got God the Father and then Jesus, and those are kind of like a pair / on the same team. And then there's Yahweh, who created the world, or this demiurge type of God that is separate. And so Marcion's God the Father is more or less ransoming souls from that creator God via Jesus. And so that right there made it polytheistic. And if you read the text, that's why, Jesus is talking to God sometimes, and it's confusing, and why sometimes he says the Father, and other times he uses different words. Now that makes sense with the Marcionite setting, because you're not stuck with, just one God, monotheistic. But when the more monotheistic movement that was more tied to Judaism came about, they needed an explanation as to how is this not polytheism, because it clearly was, and they were, Christian or Jewish Christian, and so that became the explanation, is that it is one God, but it is also 3 gods, because in the text at that point you had the God the Father / creator, or no, those are 2 different gods. You had the creator, and then you had Jesus, who was tied in with the Father, and then you get the Holy Spirit, which is weird. But yeah.
Well,
Which is
I
weird.
would also point out that prior to Marcion's Evangelism, we have the Book of Elchasai, which has Jesus being, or not Jesus, but a Christ figure never named as Jesus, being reincarnated onto Earth multiple times. And
Wow.
so there's God, there's this Christ figure, but then the Christ figure also has a sister that is coming down and is kind of described in a very spirit, kind of as a spirit. And so it's almost like there's a Holy Spirit there as well. So we have the kind of little pieces of what would eventually be this Trinitarian kind of belief that shows up later on. It's just all, it's swirling around. We have the pieces of things, the puzzle pieces are swirling around, and then eventually it just kind of gets all put together and they go, that's what this is. But it takes a while. It takes a while for the Trinity to come up. But all in all, the best way to describe the Trinity is the Christians' attempt to rectify very clear polytheism.
And they're doing so because God said, "Thou shalt not have any gods before me," but they started to worship Jesus, and that made a problem for them. So they needed to find a way to make him one so that they were no longer breaking a commandment. So it was all just, God, they lie to themselves more than they lie to anybody, and it drives me crazy. I don't know, why they don't see that. But I didn't see it, so I don't even know why I'm wondering. I didn't see it. I was stupid too. So which one of you is the chaos and which one of you is the order in the friendship? Let me guess. I'm saying Jaaron's chaos, Matthew is order. That's my guess.
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, yes. That's gonna be how it goes. Until you get to politics, in which case I am much more even keeled.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll grant that.
Yeah. But yeah, that's pretty clear. You nailed it.
Yeah.
Okay. If you had to write a 2-sentence friendship resume for the other, what would it say?
a friendship resume for the other person?
Yeah, you're going to tell somebody why this guy's a good friend. Why they might want to be friends with him. Give me 2 sentences of why.
To borrow that meme of Willem Dafoe, he's gay, but he has a certain connection with classical music. There's many things that I would like to talk about. No, I would say he's by far the most loyal person that I think I've ever met. Definitely very down to earth and understanding, and probably the best listener that God ever created.
That God ever created. Okay.
So that could be taken as like a twist there, given we know
I know.
stance on
It
that.
could be.
Could be. Could be.
Yeah, I would say he's intelligent, passionate, and I was also going to use loyal too, but I mean, I still use it as my first sentence. And always ready to help and there when you need him.
That's true. That is true. I did call you this weekend. I'm pretty
Yes.
sure.
Yes, twice.
Twice. Yeah, I know. So Matt, incredibly busy throughout the week. If I call once, probably not going to answer. If I call immediately right afterwards, he's like, "Oh shit, something's going on. I got to answer." So I'll call twice every once in a while if I'm like, "No, this needs to be answered like right now. Otherwise, it's it's gone. Like the opportunity is missed."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how people are with me. I have my phone on Do Not Disturb 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I cannot stand phone noises, okay? So Joyful always jokes about how the fact that he knows if he calls me, I'm just going to call him back. He's not going to actually reach me. I'm going to call him back. And so one time I go to call him back, like immediately afterwards, and he's not picking up his phone. So I leave a message. I go, "Is this just revenge? Like, are you just trying to get back at me now or whatever?" And about 5 minutes later, he picks up the phone and calls me and he goes, "It was. I just had to send you to voicemail because you do it to me." I'm like, "Listen, it's not you. It's everybody. Okay? It's everybody. It's my children. Okay? Like, you don't get me the first time you call. I'll call you back. Don't worry about it." All right, you guys, it is time for you to come up and ask Matthew and Jaaron your questions. The guest box is open. If you are on YouTube, you don't have a way to come over here, just ask your question in chat and I will read it out to them. If you are on TikTok and you don't have a microphone, or you're shy, or you're just a dork and you don't want to come up, go ahead and ask your question. Put it in all caps. You won't be muted. Well, I think at this point, people should just come up. The shyness, just come up. We're all friends, for goodness sake. All right, here comes Grana.
Oh.
Yeah,
Faithful, by the way, asked. Faithful brought up a point really quick. Said that they believe that he said, "I think the Romans invented Jesus as propaganda to stop the Jewish uprising in 66 to 70. Matthew, do you want to answer that? Because I've answered that till I'm blue in the face just about every day.
Well, that specific take I'm going to answer real quick, which is even mainstream scholars don't put the Gospels prior to the Jewish and Roman War. And so that immediately makes that version of it not very viable, because even Mark is generally said to be put between like 66 and 70. And we say that it's written a lot later, into the 100s. But, no, there was no conspiracy behind it. I think a lot of the people were, true believers, so to speak. But no, there's no evidence that connects that whatsoever. And when we first start to see texts mentioning Christians or Christ or anything like that, there seems to be no knowledge that this was all like a secret government conspiracy. Even when some of the people are like the top level governors of the time and things like that, there's just really no evidence to support that, and a lot of evidence to support that this was more or less an organic movement. Even if one person did, like make a lot of the initial texts or something like that. It was a religious movement from the start, never really a political thing.
Yeah.
From Jeff, yeah, we've been on Jeff's show before.
Yeah.
You definitely need to come out to one of ours. Jaaron does a really good job explaining it, and I'm sure he gets to explain it 2 or 3 times a day.
Well, it doesn't actually come up, I guess, that often, because I've made it incredibly clear that we do not subscribe to the idea of Roman government conspiracy for Jesus or Christianity. There's no evidence for it. There's actually evidence against it. And when we take a look at the dating of the actual text and when they're written, they would show up after Judea itself is just
it's not a province anymore.
Laid to waste. It's not even a province anymore. So it's just not a. That did not happen. While Jeff does say that, he gets his idea from his name is what's that guy's name?
Atwill.
Yeah, Joseph Atwill. Joseph Atwill has a book called Caesar's Messiah that got made into a documentary on YouTube. Jeff watched that documentary, bought into the idea. Quite frankly, just to put it incredibly bluntly, the idea that the Roman government created Christianity or Jesus as an attempt to pacify the Jews is bullshit. That is not a real thing.
So I'm watching the chat. I know, but I do want to respect our guest time, who's up here.
Yeah. Let's talk to Grana, and then I'll go ahead and read out some of the chat questions for you. Grana, how are you doing today?
Hey, you know I don't care if I wait all day, so
You're so sweet.
I would be good, but I just found a spider and I couldn't catch it, and now I have to wear boots.
Oh no, you have to burn your whole house down.
Yes,
I'm so
exactly.
sorry to hear that.
Those big black ones too. Well, big black ones for the Pacific Northwest, not the other kind. Sorry, but okay. I missed part of it, so let me know if you answered this. When you guys are not working together, do you like to hang out? And if so, what kind of things do you do?
Yeah. I mean, we can really just hang out. So, like we were saying earlier, we started out in a church together, and then that evolved into us being in a band together, and then we made a comedy band, and then we had a comedy show, probably skipping something in between there. And then we started working on the book during the comedy show, and then we ended the comedy show and then published the book. And now, I mean, when we meet up, normally Taco Bell's our thing. Sometimes we'll do pizza. Yeah, we
do eat an unchristian amount of Taco Bell.
That's the real reason we left the church, is just how much Taco Bell we ate.
It is a sin. It is. It's in the Ten Commandments.
We also like to just kind of just talk about religion or talk about things in general. We'll talk about politics. Him a lot more so than I am, but we're kind of both involved in politics in the area and in the community.
But yeah, the book stuff, like religion, it's a fun topic for us. So like just talking about it with no intention of ever writing certain things, it's still fun for us.
Oh yeah, and we did have there for a bit, and I guess eventually one day we'll finish it. But we did have a book that we were writing that was like a historical fantasy book over like the lead up to the rise of Mormonism and Joseph Smith.
That sounds cool. Why don't you write it? It sounds good to me. I'll read it.
I mean, we probably wrote like a third of it. Like it was really.
So,
I think. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry. Do you drag your significant others along, and do they get sick of the same topics?
For me, I mean, she'll come to like when Jaaron has like parties at his house and stuff. She'll come a lot of times, but really, so my wife is from China, so this stuff does not make any sense to her whatsoever.
Oh.
Because it's like totally foreign culture. It's like, why is this? Why does anyone believe this or that? And I'm just like, I mean, I can't tell you that. It's hard to explain. And then I think Jaaron's situation's slightly different, but also kind of similar.
Yeah. So my wife being from Ecuador and coming from like a Catholic perspective, like she understands some of it, and every once in a while will ask questions because I guess while she's from Ecuador, she was raised as well in New York City, and so it's it is a bit of a foreign concept, like living in a like a Protestant Bible Belt
Right.
part of America. It's very different here. People are a lot more religious. It's baked into our society and saturates everything that we do, even at school. And so it's very different. So every once in a while she'll ask questions, and I'll try my best to explain them in ways that don't get into some crazy, in-depth rabbit hole. But yeah, they do kind of get drug along a little bit, I think. But I try my best to kind of keep it between like Matthew and I, or on TikTok or in the book, that kind of thing, instead of
Yeah, or you go to restaurants. Girls, you sit at that table. We'll sit over here and we'll be.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah, we're gonna eat our Crunchwrap Supremes over here.
Okay, we do have a question. You can stay up if you want, Grana, in case you have other questions. Okay.
I'm doing like more laundry than a single person should ever have in a million years.
Oh.
So,
I forgot, and you had a spider to find. I'm sorry. Go kill that
yeah.
spider. Good
Okay.
luck with that.
if not, I'll just like spray my whole bedspread tonight.
Okay. Have a good day, Grana. Thanks for coming up. You guys still be in the chat for Grana. She's always amazing, and she's a big supporter of the community. Okay. We have a question in the chat from Woe. It says, talk about how they canonize the Bible. Don't mute me. I'm not going to mute you. Go ahead. How did they canonize the Bible?
So, I mean, that was a long process. We don't actually get like an exact list of the one that we have, and when I say that, I mean like we as in Catholics and Protestants and stuff, and I'm specifically keeping that to the New Testament because the Old Testament has variations even between the Catholics and Protestants, until like some into the 200s, into the 300s. Even our earliest manuscripts often have like other texts attached, like Shepherd of Hermas or the Epistle of Barnabas. Constantine in the 300s, there's the famous Council of Nicaea. Is when they really start to formalize what would become the New Testament canon. We get canon lists earlier, but they're not the actual like one we have today. Like there's the Muratorian canon, which probably comes in the late 100s, early 200s, or somewhere in there. But that's it has different things listed. Early church fathers were questioning the authenticity of even some of the canonical texts. Even as late as Martin Luther, Luther was not too keen on certain New Testament texts, but he still ended up including them. So, yeah, Jaaron, if you wanted to add more on that, I'm sure you might have more thoughts on it. I think the idea of a New Testament canon really came around with Marcion, and that's pretty much what we're explicitly told in some places, and a lot of even other scholarship, because it kind of just comes out of nowhere, and he seems to be the first one that created the concept of a canon, and the one that compiled the texts, or maybe even commissioned or possibly wrote some of the text, depending on who you asked, in the New Testament canon. I know I'm going to drop that slowly. Nobody else.
Yeah, we're going to slowly inject it.
It's on YouTube.
Oh yeah, now it's permanent.
Jared, how do you have patience for people asking the same stuff all the time? I can answer this question for Jared. He does not. I've watched him go like, "Are you kidding me? I just answered this question." Now go ahead, Jared.
I am perfectly fine with answering, generally speaking, the same questions every day. Like, in other words, if someone comes into the chat or some request up and says, "Oh, hey, didn't Josephus say this or Tacitus say this?" That's perfectly fine. And even if like a few hours goes by or like even 1 hour or something, and someone asks the same question, I'm fine with answering that. But what really gets my goat is when somebody sits in the guest request box, so that I know that they've been there for the last like 30 minutes or something while I'm answering that question for someone at the time, and then when they come up, they bring up the same point, and I'm just like,
Yes.
were you not listening right before you came up? Like, I know you've been here. I just answered this. You're not going to somehow present this in some new way that is like it's no.
And it's like they don't even present it in the same, like, you will go over something like, I don't know, we'll just say whatever, Tacitus or something. And the next guy will come up and go, yeah, but have you heard of Tacitus? And you're like, what the fuck?
And it's not even that. They'll come up and they'll be
It's
like,
not even-
yeah, have you heard of Tacitus? And I'm like,
yeah,
okay.
it's
Like,
true.
or like Josephus?
Yes,
Josephus?
Joseph. Yes.
It's awful.
Says, did you guys finish the book about the Quran? Need it as someone living in the Middle East?
We're working on it. The Quran section is like 85% done. The Old Testament section is also mostly done. The Book of Mormon section's mostly done. Really, a lot of it just needs to be read over, and so we'll read it over. And then the New Testament section, we're going to add a small part in there. I've rewritten it several times because I'm just like, I feel like people thought the last book was heavy, and I know I'm putting a lot of heavy stuff in the Old Testament section, so I'm just going to write a kind of really fast-paced New Testament section. So it's basically a teaser, but more aggressive about our positions, because some people got very confused about our position on Paul, which it evolved slightly over time, but I feel like we were pretty straightforward. But I remember
thought
this
you were
one guy that
pretty
used to.
straightforward.
Yeah, well, there was this one guy because we posit like the hypothetical possibility of a BCE Paul, and there was this one guy that absolutely got hung up on, we definitely said that was the case, and then he got upset later in the book when we said he may not have existed, and he's like, you say contradictory things, and so so we're gonna be really straightforward in that aspect.
Yeah. Cyber says, is Jaaron excited to visit Idaho? And the answer is potato.
Double Donkey would like to know, is the Crunch Wrap your go-to Taco Bell order?
No. Yeah.
What
no.
is it?
So, hold up. I'm going to say what Matthew always gets, and Matthew can try to guess what I get.
You know I don't pay attention to that.
I know you don't, and that's why I did it. Okay. So Matthew always gets, I think it's I can't remember if it's a number 1 or a number 2, but it's the 3 Crunchy Tacos Supreme combo. And then he'll either add on the cinnamon twist or he'll eat mine.
All right, what does Jaaron order?
$5 deal box?
Yeah.
Okay,
there you go.
I pay attention more than you think.
I ordered Del Taco because Taco Bell sucks, y'all. Del Taco is the one, okay? Quesadilla and deluxe chili cheddar fries with 10 mild sauce, please. Okay, what religion were you to when you started the book?
I mean, we weren't really. I mean, I know we take a position that, like, we don't talk about that too much, but since this is just like, a get to know you type of thing, for us, and I think we even talk about this quite a bit, like behind the scenes, like it's not even a question for us anymore because we're so far along that journey, so to speak, that like we'll joke that like we are not even interested in the question of like, is there a God? Not because it's just like, oh, we're just so dismissive, but it's just, we are like at that point, like it doesn't even, it's a foregone conclusion. And so we don't even think about like what arguments do people use. Like if somebody came up and asked us about that, I'd be just like, I don't know. Like I was thinking about that quite a while ago, and atheism, is basically like, so that's kind of where we were. Is like it wasn't like a question of, you know, this is going to be like an anti-religious book. Like at that point, I feel like we were far enough along that this didn't come off as like, oh, we're going to prove them all wrong. We found something interesting that we felt like other people hadn't really paid enough attention to in regards to the authorship of the text, and then that changed the weight of the evidence, so to speak, in terms of the existence of Jesus. And so that's kind of how the book came about.
Yeah. I mean, I will sometimes refer to myself as an atheist, just basically an atheist who just doesn't care. Like, I sincerely just don't care. Like, if someone says, oh, hey, but like, what if God exists? I'm like, okay, whatever. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Like, I sincerely don't. I'm sorry. I don't care.
I agree,
you said,
but
a lot
it's
of
not
it-
this one no matter what. Okay? Like,
yeah,
it's not this
yeah,
one
yeah.
no matter what you say. It's not this one.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and
go ahead.
I
I'm
think
sorry.
that's another way to look at it. But like Matthew said, like a lot of our arguments that we had used back in the day or thought of, you know, and went through to get to the point of atheism, just I don't even remember them because it's just a lost concept. Like if someone was like, let's debate God, I'd be like, no. Like, no. I would just as soon rather debate dirt. Like it doesn't matter to me. Like it's
Yeah.
like dirt is dirt and God doesn't exist. Who gives a shit? Move on.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah,
But have you thought of the ontological argument for dirt? Have you really, though? I'm sorry.
So-
no, I walk all over it just the same as I walk all over the God of the Bible.
So, for me, like it's not an interesting question to pursue all that much because a lot of them are a priori arguments, and I'm just not interested in like entirely abstract things. Like, yeah, it might be fun to talk about sometimes. That one, not particularly, because I mean, even if you get some kind of like omnipotent, unknowable, distant, whatever deist type of God, like that doesn't get you anything. I mean,
No.
people try to shoehorn in then like, oh, then that's the God of the Bible. He's real. So my religion is therefore verified. Yes, it says the philosophy. Yeah, I was a philosophy major in undergrad. So, but that's why I just have like very little patience for it, honestly, because you just see like then that's not to invalidate like all of philosophy, just most of it. But
That's most of it.
but no, like, and then when you get to any kind of like actual material arguments, then it's just like, well, we found the ark, and it's like, no, you didn't. Like,
No, you didn't.
Yeah.
No, you
I think
didn't.
Something that's been really, really cool is being part of the deconstruction community here on TikTok and like watching lives like yours or lives like Justin or Joel or Mezzo, and like talking to them and hearing people talk about these different elements of the Old Testament that tie in with history. Cyber was really good with this as well when he was going live a lot, just talking about like the historical aspect of like the Canaanite pantheon and stuff, and
Yeah.
seeing that Yahweh is just part of that. And it's just
Yeah.
that I don't like, even if you were to tell me that a God exists, that one is very, like the one in the Bible
Right.
is very clearly just one of many in an ancient pantheon. Why do I care? Like that'd
Right.
be like a whole bunch of people fighting to the nail to try to get me to believe in Hermes. Like
Right.
I don't care. Like even if you did convince me of his existence, it still wouldn't matter. Like
Yeah. What's he gonna do?
yeah.
he hasn't done
Fantastic.
anything all this time. What's he doing? He's doing nothing.
Yeah.
I don't think he's that powerful. Okay. Faithful says, who do you think invented Jesus and why? You guys
I
can
mean-
come up too. The guest box is open.
Yeah.
You don't have to ask from chat. The guest box is open. All right, go ahead.
I'm gonna say, and I think Jaaron and I are gonna be generally in agreement on the broad stroke here, which we're gonna say Marcion. In
Yeah.
terms of like the specifics, like we're still working that out. I am very hesitant to go into anything speculative, but I've been entertaining ideas lately. Um, and so like if it wasn't Marcion, it was someone affiliated with him somehow. I think that's we can say that pretty confidently. There doesn't seem to be, even in the Christian movement prior to Marcion's publication, anyone talking about a Jesus Christ. So it really seems to point towards his movement coming up with the name. Why they came up with the name, I mean, we've speculated on that before. But
Was Marcion's character Yahuwah or what? What? Because there's so much argument over what this man's real name was. Okay, was it
it was
Yahuwah?
always it was always
was
the Greek
always-
version.
It was always the Greek version.
Iosis or
Okay.
Yeah,
Jesus,
Iosis.
basically Jesus.
Okay.
So what they do is they assume to say it was Yeshua or any version of that is to assume the authenticity of the story, which you can't grant until you've investigated the story itself. Because if he existed, then yeah, his name was probably Yeshua or something like that. But if all your evidence is pointing towards this guy being made up, and every version of the text that we have and following versions for like 50 to 100 years were all in Greek, then this guy's name was always the Greek version. And that's why he reads the Greek Septuagint in the Bible. That's why he generally speaks in Greek. And when they speaks in Aramaic, it's like
It's foreign.
it's foreign
weird.
and intentionally shoehorned. That's literally people in Judea, when he speaks Aramaic, many times they don't understand him.
Yeah.
And that doesn't make sense. And the reason
Yeah,
they don't
he's
understand
in
Yeah.
him,
Jerusalem, getting crucified, saying Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani, and people are like, "The fuck."
that everybody there, maybe except the Roman soldiers who would have spoken Greek, but they may even known some, they don't know what he's saying. And the reason why is because the readers don't know. And the readers all speak Greek because it's a Greek text. And so
But-
they see these foreign words, so like it's foreign to them.
But in that scene, they go, "Oh, look, he's calling Elijah." The Roman soldiers wouldn't be the people who know who Elijah is. It would be the Jewish
Right.
people who would know Aramaic.
Right.
Like it's
It's
what?
weird.
It's
Because
so
they wanted
dumb.
everybody to, by saying the Romans knew, it was like, see, everybody like knew of him and whatever.
Yeah.
Paradigm, how are you today?
Hi guys, how's it going? You're right, mate. Christ, I just wanted to ask you guys because I was listening to Jeff debate the other day, and someone came up and they were actually quite dismissive of your book, and I think in a lot of theist circles they are very keen to be dismissive of the book, and they have their reasons for wanting to do that, I guess, right? But I just want to know, what level do you take these critiques of your book? Are there any critiques of your book that you take seriously? And if so, why?
So, for me, there are like generally 3 levels of critique. There's one that they clearly haven't even read it, and they're just repeating what other people have said. Then there's a dismissive critique where they've read parts of it, but they were angry about it. So Richard Carrier's is an example of this. He clearly didn't actually read the whole thing, and he was looking for points. And there's a really extensive attempt at a takedown of our book that is by a Christian who more or less does the same thing, and he in his first blog post like misstates and says something incorrect about the formulas in the math. So he's clear he doesn't actually have the credibility. And then there are people similar to that they're reading it genuinely that may have some misunderstandings about the stylometry. And then there are some good faith critiques, but usually those come in private, and they tend to be more fair. It's definitely true that this is, I guess you could say, a pop sci book. Like, we tried to make this accessible to people, and in doing so, like a fair critique kind of, is that we don't show the full graphs in our book. Now, if you've actually done the test yourselves, you'll know that like when you run as many files as we did, you can't make that fit. Even for like a digital one that's going to expand, it's just not going to fit.
Right.
So there, and then in that case, you can't see like where everything shows up. And then we could have written it in a more peer-reviewed way. That's definitely a fair criticism, or like attempted to that, and we may eventually get there. I think you could argue that where we cut authorship off within the runs, you could say is questionable because there's a little bit of interpretation there. But we've run thousands of these tests in different ways. But for the most part, we encourage people in our book to go do this and prove us wrong. And my biggest disappointment with the field of biblical studies in general is that nobody has actually done that. So everybody that actually I felt like could have done that has just been dismissive and not actually done it, because we want somebody to go in that's like credible and actually run the tests and be thorough and address some of the points we bring up. We did find on a forum somebody did that, and they ended up coming up with about 90% of our conclusions.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how I feel about that. Jaaron has people come on every day, so he may have a little bit more of a take and seen more disagreements. So I'll let him kind of weigh in too.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, you pretty much nailed it. I think a lot of people kind of attach themselves to two main sources for any kind of critique, and that would be Richard Carrier's take. And Richard Carrier admits that he hasn't actually read the entire thing. Believe it or not, Richard Carrier also posits the idea that Christ before Jesus may have not had two authors, but possibly one author that is trying to act as if he's two, which is really bizarre.
He doesn't know. It's because I don't get online. I don't get online, and
That's
he
so
clearly
weird.
came onto either the live or just looked at Jaaron's TikTok at the pre-recorded video and only saw Jaaron.
Yeah.
And then so he says maybe it's actually just one person, and like there's like a mystery author that Jaaron is pretending to have to get his information from.
Yeah, I
That is
honestly have no
weird.
clue. Considering the
his
fact
level
that
of critique.
if he looked into any interviews that we do, we generally will only do interviews together. So
Right.
there's a second person on. So he hasn't looked at any of our YouTube stuff or anything like that. On top of that, which is strange because we have an hour-long interview on Myth Vision, which he goes on to sometimes with Derek. So that's very odd that he didn't. It's very odd that he didn't check that. On top
That's
of that,
really weird.
in our book, we actually have, while we're explaining how stellometry works, we literally have a portion where we ran stellometry on our own book and say this is two authors. So if we were just one author, we would literally be shit talking stellometry and proving that it doesn't work before explaining how it worked for us. So he very clearly hasn't read the book or dug into
He
it at all.
clearly doesn't follow me, which is so weird because I'm a
That is
household
so
name and I've had
Richard
you
Carrier,
both on my
if
show.
you are watching this, shame on you. Follow
Jesus
CrystalJae on TikTok.
Just saying. You would have known because they've been on my show before. Obviously, he's just out of the loop. He's just old.
Yeah.
He must be a boomer.
Yeah, the
Richard.
only other type of, or the only other interview or critique that people have come across, there is one on Amazon where someone goes into grave detail on all these different reasons why, stellometry can't work the way that it does. And the reason why they're doing that is because they're looking at antiquated, like just takes on how stellometry works and what it needs in order to actually run. And that's fine. I mean, a lot of Christians, go figure, they pick something old and say, I like this, I'm going to stick with it. Like that's kind of par for the course for Christianity or any religion, is to kind of stick with a particular take and just say, I'm not going to update my stance. Unfortunately, that's not what science does. Science updates. We get further advancements in technology and mathematics, and we absolutely can take a look at the text the way that we present and get accurate results. And just to appease those people, we have actually combined chapters in order to have more data in order to actually get better runs as they try to claim that we need, and we get the same results. So it's beyond me why anyone really attaches themselves to that. But I mean, whenever you're a butthurt historicist, whenever you're somebody who really, really, really wants Jesus to exist, you're going to attach yourself to anything and everything that could possibly take down Christ before Jesus.
Cheers, thanks, guys. I really appreciate that. I know it was a bit of a funny question to ask, but yeah, I appreciate the attempt at asking it. I really, it's cleared up a lot. But yeah, keep doing the good job. Great work.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you,
Thanks so
thanks,
much
Crystal, for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming up. We appreciate you. If you have another question, feel free to ask it. The other guests jump down. If you are in the chat and you want to come up and ask a question, the guest box is open. I have a question from Cyber Deconstruction. Is Jaaron excited to visit Idaho?
Yeah. I am. I may even put Matthew in my carry-on and bring him up.
Oh. Can I go and check luggage?
Let's see.
No, you're getting shoved into that little headspace right above the seat.
I'm reading the chat to see, because we got a lot of talking. I want to make sure you guys need to put your questions in all caps so I can read them. I'm old. You guys look. I'm 92 and I'm still on TikTok. Okay, why do people mention Josephus even though he's not a contemporary? Why does it matter what he says?
That's honestly a good question. And that's a
He's
fair
the
point.
He's just the earliest.
Yeah, that's so yeah, he's not a contemporary, so he's clearly not an eyewitness. But he is the earliest possible reference. That doesn't mean he's a legitimate one. We claim, and I think a lot of people accept, that the statements about Jesus in there are added in by other Christians later on. So yeah, but the reason they talk about him is because he's the first person, and actually, really, even after that, they don't mention Jesus, they mention Christ. And so Josephus actually says the name Jesus in that passage, or somebody put Jesus into that passage. It says, it's kind of a big deal for saying Jesus, because nobody does for 50 years after Josephus. So
You know what always gets me is when the Christians say, yeah, but all major religions mention Jesus, like Islam or whatever. And I'm thinking, why would you care if a religion that you think is completely, satanic for all intents and purposes, why would you care that they mention your Jesus? Why wouldn't you want them to keep his name out of their mouth? That's the way I would feel about it. And then you're all bragging about it. I don't get it. You can't stand them. And any other level, any other thing they said, you would say immediately was a lie. But they said Jesus? I don't get it. Pixie says, why to this day do scholars call Marcion a heretic?
It's just the general Catholic take on him. Later on,
What about him was heretical?
He believed in multiple gods. He believed in that Yahweh was an evil, unjust God of the Old Testament, and that Jesus was the son of a completely different God. And so the more monotheistic, Jewish-leaning members of the church wanted to take it in a different direction. Something that's really interesting is there's over 40 Gospels ever written. There's very clearly different takes in Christianity. There's different sects in Christianity, even in the 2nd century. So when we say Marcion was deemed a heretic, realistically, he's only deemed a heretic by, as far as we know, one sect of Christianity. And that's the one that happens to win, and that's the one that happens to have the canon that we have today. But that doesn't mean that all the others thought he was heretical. Not at all. It's just really, it's really strange the way that works there.
Hi and Fundip says, hi on Fundip. I'm sorry, not you're high on it. I like getting high on Fundip. Now I want Fundip. Okay. Is your book peer reviewed? Explain to people what peer reviewed means so they'll understand this, Because I don't think people know what that means. Anybody?
All right. So peer review does not mean gospel truth and absolutely certain. So peer review is a process that scholarly works go through, and basically it is peer members of that academic community in whatever field that's relevant to the text in question go through and say, did this person follow appropriate methodological practices? Did they basically, do things more or less correctly, that does not mean that these people who do the peer reviewing, which is normally like, around 3 reviewers, that does not mean they are endorsing this view. They may outright disagree with this view. It's not, it does not create certainty around this statement. Things have been peer reviewed and still been proven false. There have been AI things that have made it through peer review. Peer review is not a perfect process. It's just a tool we have, and an imperfect one. And that's not me knocking like peer review, and it's important in its own right. But it's a process to help make sure that there's a certain standard in scholarship and things like that. So our book, we did not submit to peer review because we're not targeting scholars really. We're targeting everyday people. And in the book itself, we outright tell people, and we say explicitly, we hope scholars will pick this up. We tell people how to run these tests themselves and how to download the software, where to find the texts, all that type of stuff, because we think it's more important to go broad. And honestly, we don't want to get bogged down in like a really long peer review process in a field that's going to be hostile towards the position, and frankly does not understand the data science behind it. The biblical studies field is incredibly far behind in terms of adopting modern tools and in terms of interdisciplinary works. Whenever you see something interdisciplinary in biblical studies, it's almost always more advanced than the mainstream consensus stuff. And that's because they don't really look outside their field. They're not trained properly often. Many of them are at like religious schools and stuff. Some even are required to take statements of faith to maintain their jobs. And when their jobs are wrapped up in this type of thing, it gets riskier to push something that's different. And that's just how it is. It's not even just biblical studies. Sometimes that's other fields too. So yeah, and Jaaron, I'm sure you have thoughts on this too. So I'll let you weigh in as well.
Well, I would also, I guess all that I want to point out is that there was an actual scholar who has actually reviewed our work, recommended our work, and submitted that review into a peer-reviewed religious journal. It is available online. You can read it. On top of that, that scholar then went on to cite us multiple times in her next book. And actually, in one of those citations in the notes, mentioned that we ran stilometry better than Christian predecessors. So we actually do have mentions from actual scholars in text, and we have ran our ideas and our views and our book and everything like that by actual scholars in the field who have read it and liked our work and are friends with us. While we have not submitted our book explicitly for peer review, that's not necessarily that's not what we wanted to do, and it's not anything that anybody's really going to ultimately give too much of a shit about anyways, because even if we did get it peer reviewed, they're just going to move the goalpost again and say, well, who actually peer reviewed it? What did they actually say?
Which journal did you submit to?
Not even care.
And then they're going to say, well, what are their credentials? And so, they don't have PhDs. And then they're going to say, if we had a PhD, oh, well, that's not from a good enough school. And it's just going to keep moving. And it's just a way to move the goalpost to not have to accept actual evidence-based arguments. Yeah.
So I'd just rather just talk about the evidence just right here and there and cut out all the extra bullshit. Don't worry about where I went to school. Don't worry about the degree. Don't worry about peer review. Don't worry about what religion I am or you are. Let's just talk about the evidence and what we find, and I'll actually give you the tools to replicate what I did and possibly prove me wrong.
All right. High on Fundip also says, why would the Romans care about a peasant from Judea?
Oh, yeah, I replied in the chat to that, and I said they didn't because he was made up. And so...
The idea, the comment comes from, I think they're referring to the idea that Jesus is so unfamous or like not famous at all. Like he's so like backwoods and stuff like that, or so small time. that he wouldn't catch the attention of Roman writers. So that's why we don't see him being written about from contemporaries. Not only do the Gospels not portray him as this, but on top of that, if that was the case, I'm not sure why after 100 years after his supposed death, we start getting all these stories about him that just keep adding and adding to the story, talking about things that he does in secret, away from Christians and away from the author, all kinds of stuff. So it's very bizarre that people want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to say that he's nobody, which is why he, flies under the radar, but also he's super famous, which is why we suddenly have all these stories written about him, and they're all true.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, you guys, thank you so much for the 19,000 likes. I do need you to keep tapping the screen, though. I am going to point something out that's going to make some of you feel a little uncomfortable right now, but we've been talking about lately. I see the way you guys tap and gift and share and everything for when men go live, and it's not the same for when women go live. And we need to stop the misogyny in the community. So tap, like, share, gift the same way you would if any other creator was on here with a penis, okay? I've got two people with penises right here. If you need that, you could gift them, okay? That would be great too. But it helps push out the live, and I bring you great creators. Look at who I'm bringing you here today. I have brought you Thinker, Justin, Dr. Blitz, Ian, Daniel Green, and more, and Christ Before Jesus authors, Matthew and Jaaron, right now before you. So, start tapping, sharing it out, doing all the good stuff. Show this live the same love you would show for anybody else, okay? Have you done the same process for other figures?
Yeah, I also snarkily replied to that one and said, yes, Paul did need yeah, I mean, to a lesser extent, honestly. So, but yeah, so like I have run, well, obviously, first we're writing the book on the Old Testament, the Quran, and the Book of Mormon. And so there aren't as many individual figures you're really looking at for some of those texts. Like the Old Testament has a ton of texts. And most people already agree that Moses wasn't real, Abraham wasn't real. So like we're not really, we avoid those type of conversations generally, even in that book, because it's just not new information. And we want to provide new information. We're not just trying to like, repeat what others have said unless it's relevant to where we're going with it. We do talk about that in regards to Muhammad in the new book, which is not out yet. We're still working on it. In the book we mentioned that, and we show a test run when we ran texts attributed to Plato, and I've also in my personal time run Shakespeare and
that's about all that we're going to say on it.
Okay, fair enough.
You're going to have to get the books, you guys. You got to get the books. Okay, I don't know if you guys can. Thank you, Evan. Thank you. I love Evan, by the way. Evan is such a big supporter of this community. He's amazing. There's so many amazing people in here right now. You guys, we have 52 people in here. Thank you all for being here. And we've got a couple people over on YouTube. Don't forget, if you're too shy to come up, you can ask your questions in chat, but try to put them on all caps for me. Nobody will mute you because this is a Q&A, okay? I don't know how you guys will feel about answering this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. It says, Fluffy says, if the Bible had actually banned slavery, would it still have caught on in the U.S.? I don't know if that is something your book even talks about.
Yeah, so, there are some, very, modern / moral questions that we just don't address.
Yeah, in the book.
That wasn't the intention, really, of the book, if that makes sense.
Yeah, there are lots of moral... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, since that's not... thank you so much, Evan. Thank you for helping me reach my goal. You guys don't talk about that. That is something I talk about more on my lives. And I think that obviously there's still slaves today, even though slavery is illegal in the United States except through the prison system. So I do think that there probably would still be some form of slavery, especially in sexual trafficking. But I do not think it would have been what it was had it not been for Christianity and the proclamations of the popes and the church leaders at the times to go out and take people and do what they wanted to do.
Well,
But
if it wasn't for Christianity in general, I'm not exactly certain as to how America would have even started. It probably would have started, I know it would start quite a bit later. Well, maybe.
Yeah,
It
that's the
just
thing.
kind of depends.
But
because
if you're asking, like, did it just, if it had just banned slavery, like, then I think maybe generally speaking, there would have
just
been,
no slavery? Like, so
Yeah.
Christianity's still around, but no slavery?
yeah, I think that was the general. I agree. Like, if Christianity had not existed, things would be very different because so much of European history and world history was
Yeah.
shaped by it. But if it's just that question, I would say generally yes, because that was just that mode of production at the time and how things worked, and also because I think religious texts generally get skewed and interpreted based on what the people already generally believe. Like, yeah, they get some of their views from the religious texts, but also they justify a lot of their existing views from those religious texts. And so that just gave extra credibility to those pro-slavery views.
Honestly, I think if Christianity had banned slavery, I think it probably would have been bigger, to be honest.
oh yeah, yeah,
Because,
that could be.
like, the idea of Christianity growing, like, it's only the size that it is because it became the official religion of Rome.
Right.
But I think that it probably would have, like, been even more popular and gained even larger popularity faster if it had spoke to, like, slaves a bit more within,
Yeah.
like, the ancient Roman Empire.
They want to know what is the book, and I want to blow you up when you show. So put it up, and I'll make you on the big screen so everybody can see the book. You have it, right? Oh, okay.
Oh,
Matthew
yeah,
has
yeah.
it. All right, Matthew has it. Okay, Matthew, no, you're it, Matthew. You're it now. Jared
Well,
had his
I don't know how to
chance, not
reverse mine, so you may actually want to go to Jaaron.
Oh, okay.
because-
Have to go back to Jaaron because people
Oh, no.
can't read.
I'm flipped.
Oh, he's flipped too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, no, there's not a way to flip when you're a guest.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Well, you can keep it holding it
The
up though. I
host
mean,
can
you're
flip,
up.
I can.
So
Yeah, show that again. Hold it
Yeah,
up.
go
Let
Oh,
everybody
wait.
know.
Maybe they. Oh, no, there is. They've added it now.
nice. So it's just like $2.99 or something on Amazon for the ebook. You know, we're not trying to get rich off of it. We're trying to get the info out there. So yeah, if you want to check it out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Some people have criticized us and been like, "Oh hey, are you guys just trying to, make money?" Like they're in the chat. There's some guy who's been talking about how, like we've been doing the same thing for like a year and a half. Yeah, it's our only book. Like what else would we?
Like,
But
we're working on another one. Yeah.
that being said, like we're not getting rich over this thing. Like it's a $3 ebook. We put it as low as we can on Amazon. Amazon takes a third of that. Every time there's an ebook that's sold, I make $1 and Matthew makes $1.
Yeah. And we do
That's
have
it.
the audiobook up. Yeah. Which, and that, royalties on audiobooks are even more confusing because you actually have to listen to it. But if you listen to it more than once, I don't think it really does anything other than like, in terms for like royalties. So it's weird.
Yep.
But
If someone buys an audiobook and listens to only a quarter of it, then we get a quarter of a commission. That's how it works.
What? Is that
Yeah.
true? I didn't know
But-
that. That is
Yeah.
crazy.
yeah, but if you listen to it 40 times, we still only get one commission worth. So
Yeah.
That is so stupid. I did not
Yeah.
know that because I listen to a lot of audiobooks. I have ADHD, and sometimes reading, oh God, it's such a struggle to read because I love reading. But I will read something and my mind will suddenly just start thinking something very far away. It has nothing to do with what I'm reading. And I will continue reading and I will realize I have no fucking idea what I read. And I will have to reread it, but I'll do it over and over again. But if I listen to an audiobook and then I hyper focus on something else, like doing a puzzle or something, I can absorb the information. So it was hard to listen to your audiobook though, because it was so packed full of information that I wanted to take notes and I wanted to write things down. And I'm not a notebook type of person. I prefer to take notations in a book if I'm going to do it. So that's why I had to go back and get an actual copy of your book, because I was like, God, this has too much information. I can't do it. You guys, if you asked a question, I didn't see it, so you need to ask it again and put it in all caps for me. And I will ask some more questions because I want to know a little bit about your second book. Okay, so why did you decide to expand beyond Jesus and Paul and do the book about the Quran, the Book of Mormon, and the Old Testament?
Well, I mean, it really wasn't our intention to write a book in the first place. But, you know, we get a lot of critiques that are like, oh, you're only picking on Jesus and Christianity and stuff. So first off, like, that's about to be false. I mean, it already is false, but like, we're about to release that book, you know, hopefully soonish. But it's also a relevant question in terms of, you know, well, if Christianity is built off of a fictional character, then like, and we can use certain textual analysis to see that, then can we see that in other religions? And so the Old Testament, it's interesting. The Quran, it's interesting. Book of Mormon, I feel like most people already agree on, unless you're Mormon. But we try to add to what we can there. It was a fun one. It's definitely a fun topic to discuss. Jaaron, did you have any ulterior motives there in writing this book?
Well, as a Satanist, I just wanted to spread like the love of our Dark Lord over all of the Abrahamic faiths. No, I very clearly, like, it's just something that interests me. And I do think that a lot of our motivation for doing this was to show that we're not just picking on Christians, like legitimately, because I mean, there's plenty of people who will be like, oh, hey, would you say the same thing about Muhammad? I'm like, I mean, I would, you know, I just haven't really looked into it that much. And so, well, this is me looking into it. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, I would also say, like, also, where do you go after that? Because Jesus is probably the most significant, like, potential historical figure in question. Like, let's say we wrote a book on Shakespeare, like, maybe a few, like, really literary, you know, people that like Old English or Middle English are going to be interested. If we wrote about, like, Plato, whether he exists or not, like, who cares? At least people will be interested in this topic, and we can provide information on things people care about.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
well,
absolutely.
You know, obviously, if we go after too much stuff from Greece, then we're gonna have Hanji fucking knocking down our doors.
You do not want that. If I was to believe in somebody having the power of ancient gods, it would be Hanji. You know, like
Hanji.
I'm not messing with that. She will get you. Hey, Soldiers of Christ Ministries, the guest box is open. If you want to come up and ask them a question, it's not a debate scene or anything, but if you got questions about their books, Bart Ehrman, any of the weird things that you're saying in chat, you could just come up. Like, you don't have to spew all of that in chat. You could just come up and ask the questions.
Not a problem.
Not a problem. How did you divide up the research between these texts for the two of you to work on?
The research for the new one?
Book?
Yeah, for the new one.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. So what happened was we took a look at all the different stuff that we needed to take a look at. And we laid it all out. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go live on TikTok every day. You handle about 95% of this.
Also, why the book's taken so long.
Okay, every time I see you live now, I'm going to go, okay, thanks, Jaaron. We have to wait wait another month. Thank you.
Pretty much. Like today, I woke up. I was like, I don't have to do anything until about 1 p.m. Central. So I'm gonna start working on the book. So I'm sure that Matthew probably got some comments and stuff because we use Google Docs and everything. So like, yeah, I was working on it earlier, and it's just when I have time, I'll work on it. But when I'm live, I'm not working on it.
Yeah. But it's
Gotcha.
an important part of the the whole thing. It really works well because it plays into Jaaron's strengths, and then the way we set it up, it plays into my strengths. So, it's important to have somebody out here to spread this information, because if we were just writing books, I know plenty of people, they'll write a book and just assume it's going to spread, but that's not the case. People need to hear about it or find out about it one way or another. So, yeah, it's.
Listen, the last time we talked, I asked you what was one of the most surprising little factoids that you found out. And Matthew, you shared with me about George Washington being plagiarized for the Book of Mormon, right?
Yes.
So now you've done a lot more research. What else have you found out that we might like to hear about? Well, it could be about any of the research.
Well, first off, it wasn't just George Washington. It looks like the author of the Book of Mormon, don't want to spoil too much, I know people already have assumptions there, was pretty loose with who he was willing to quote from in terms of, founding fathers. And you got to think about, so the Book of Mormon came out in the early 1830s, and that's not too far after people like George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were writing. So these were big figures at the time. It's not like today we're like, oh, those were like hundreds of years ago. Like for them, they were like, some of those people had just, died. Like, some of them in the 1800s. So, yeah, there's that. We found out a lot about the Old Testament, and that's been really interesting. How it may seem to know about people like, or texts from Plato. So that's an interesting one. I guess that all in the line of. And Plato is writing in the 300s BCE, so that can throw in kinks for the dating of the.
I just was listening to a Carl Sagan book. I can't remember which one. Anyway, in it he mentioned something about where the book of Deuteronomy was found and who found it, and I cannot remember what he said, but it was kind of a little suspicious, is what he was, alluding to. Who is it? What's the story of Deuteronomy?
Well, I mean, all the so-called books of Moses, I mean, even all the way back to like Eusebius and a little bit earlier, people were noticing that a lot of content from like Plato and other earlier Greek, or early, we'll just say early Greek writers, looks similar to what's in the Old Testament. And they would say, like, oh, that's because Plato was copying the Old Testament. But that doesn't really make sense once you start to think about it, because Plato was writing in the 300s BCE, and it was before Alexander had conquered that region. So there's no real reason Plato would have gone to learn Hebrew to read these texts, and there's no reason any Greek person would have like translated the Hebrew text into Greek, and the Septuagint wasn't really even translated at that point. So it's just really suspicious there. And then the only option after that is that the Old Testament seems to know Plato. But if that's the case, the same thing stands. And then how did they get access to that? Were they reading these Greek texts? And if so, when was that? And the most likely time and place would have been in like Alexandria, which is after Plato, and is one of the early large Greek communities that had a large Jewish population, and the Library of Alexandria. So then you got the Old Testament showing up, way late. I mean,
Oh yeah.
potentially, in the 300s to the 200s BCE. And if that's the case, then that removes the possibility of, Moses and all this other stuff. And they're relying on very limited historical records. So it gets really interesting. And so it's really suspicious because, I mean, the claim is that, it was written by Moses. And then the contemporary modern claim is that it was written, around the time of the exile. But if this is the case, then it was written well after the exile. And so how much of it is trustworthy? I mean, obviously it wasn't trustworthy much in the first place, but
Right.
Let me just put it this way. The Dead Sea Scrolls may have potentially been some originals.
yeah, that's like the level we're talking. There's no
Wow.
way to prove it one way or another, but they could have been.
They straight up could have been original texts.
Now okay. And what language is the Dead Sea Scrolls in? Is it in Hebrew?
Mostly
Hebrew,
but
Aramaic, and there's
a
also
little
some
bit of
Greek.
Aramaic and
Hebrew.
Greek, and even a little Latin.
Okay. There are people who believe that the very like, if there was something that existed before the Dead Sea Scrolls, that it was actually written in Greek. That the Old Testament was originally written in Greek. And what do you say to people who think that they think that it was not originally in Hebrew?
That's my wheelhouse. We can actually demonstrate that it is a translation. So that's the fun part about stylometry, and that's where where we actually can contribute to the field, is that when we have translated texts, they act differently than first language texts. So like even if the person was, literate in both languages, because you have to be to make a translation, there are certain things and certain ways the text act differently when it's a translation. And so we can see that none of the New or the Old Testament texts were original to Greek, because the Septuagint and all of the Greek versions we have clearly show signs of translation, except like maybe one or two, and scholars already think that those were just extremely loose translations, not like originals in Greek.
However, there is a caveat that it's possible that the translation into Greek happened pretty quickly
Yes.
after the original versions were written.
Because these people we have no evidence that Plato was translated into Hebrew at this time, so the people who wrote the Hebrew versions probably could already read Greek and were reading Plato and reading these other texts.
Yeah.
And these would be the hot philosophies of the time. And so they translated that, let's say, around the 270s or so, or they wrote it around, the 300 to 270 era. And they could have immediately turned that around. And we know it probably happened in Alexandria because Philo tells us, and he's from Alexandria, writing a bit later, that they still have an annual celebration to celebrate the translators of the Septuagint who were from Alexandria. So
yeah. So I mean,
Layer
it's possible
cakes.
that the same people who wrote it had a bit of a hand with the translation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay. Layer Cake wanted to know, would it change anything if the Dead Sea Scrolls are the originals? What does that change, if anything?
I mean,
Change what? Like, what do they mean by change exactly?
I don't know. I think they mean, does it change anything about it being valid or not as a religion? Does it change anything if they are the original texts?
I mean, it changes the mainstream consensus, and it challenges even more the validity of these texts being old. And part of
Right.
the claim to credibility is that, these texts have been around so long. So the biggest thing would really be on the scholarly side, they'd have to move it about 300 years from where they currently have at least the books of Moses. And then on the religious side, it's just already, for the Old Testament, it's already got that problem because most scholars already they say it's not from Moses. So like, it's just even further into that, like, well, no, you can clearly see that they took from other sources, from other cultures, and they were writing a lot later than they were claiming to. So
I think it's similar to our take on the New Testament. Like, moving the New Testament into the 2nd century does not automatically mean that Jesus didn't exist. That's not how that works at all. We don't claim that. That wouldn't make any sense. But what it does do is it allows for us to see the evolution of the religion and evolution of the text, and we can see how the stories come together. We find the connections with other influences, and we get to see exactly why there's anachronisms in the text and all these different issues. But it makes so much more sense. It fits as a mythology that shows up much later, as opposed to some old historical text that actually tells a true story.
Gotcha. Hey, Solo Vino, how are you today?
Only wine.
Oh man, I'm doing well. I'm doing
Good
well.
to have you up here. Did you have some questions for Jaaron and Matthew today?
I do. I'd like to say first off, it's nice to see Matthew. I'm assuming this is the co-author.
Yes.
Yeah, he
Okay,
is
cool.
the AI co-author called Matt GPT.
Yeah.
Ah, that's
And
great.
notice he is not cyber.
Right. Yeah, I know. I think at first I thought that was probably the co-author, but no, now I get it. So, so I have a couple of things. So one's a question, the other's just a statement. The statement is, even though these two guys have wrote a book and they're brilliant, I don't understand why I only have 2 coins. So chat, get to work there. Make sure that you drop this amount. Galaxy would be
Yes.
fun. Maybe some cheese
Now
to go
there's
with my.
3 people with penises up here, okay, you guys? I'm providing penises tap, share, gift, okay? Go ahead.
We're just stacking them.
Only about 6 inches among us.
I was gonna say mine's really small.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, mine's more like a large clip. But anyway, my question is, so I want to know what the margin of error is when it comes to stilometry. Like, how accurate has it been proven to be? I mean, if it's something that can be proven, is it like a science in the sense that you can accurately depict things, and to what degree? Is there any margin of error at all, and what does that mean in relation to your all's work?
Okay. Yeah, that's a good question. So the way we tested this first is, we downloaded a ton of texts, and we came up with known author tests and tested the various approaches that we could have used, and found the ones that worked the best for this range and time period in this language, or in Greek specifically, and in other languages that we branched out, and tried to get as accurate of results as possible at the various levels we were running and things like that. And we tended to get in the range of like 95 to sometimes perfect runs. It would perfectly line up every text with every author. And that does not mean that this is 100% accurate all the time. That just means that, different conditions for these tests result in varying levels of accuracy. And we know more or less when we see something kind of weird. We learned what to expect if things were too small, how they would act. We found other authors and actually peer-reviewed scholarly works that put stylo's accuracy at a certain text size, around the size we were running, at I think it was 95 or 96% accuracy in the formula that we were using in I think it was their PhD thesis or something like that. I've got the document somewhere on my desktop. And that doesn't mean every single test that we ran was that accurate. It may have been lower, it may have been higher. There are times when other factors are involved, like, some people have said that maybe people's style changes over time, which to a degree is true. You learn new words over time, and you may favor things slightly different. But for the most part, it tends to solidify once you've hit a certain maturity or experience in your writing. And so we ran age tests in English primarily, because with English authors, we have a pretty good record of like when people were born, when they first wrote their first novel, etc. And when you have like one text from the first year they were writing, or first, like, when I say that, published, I guess, and then like really late in their life, and it's like 40 years apart, we were still getting like 70-ish% accuracy or so, which is fair. But then when you add in like multiple texts from this author, or you break the text down, those texts, instead of just running one full book and one full book, you kind of create a transitional, a bigger sample base of dates and things like that. And then we got up into the 90s, the 95% range with those. And of course, English isn't Greek, and there's other caveats there. But generally speaking, that's how it works. So with Paul, for example, hypothetically speaking, we have texts from about a 15-year range. If he were a historical person, we'd have a 15-year range or so, which is much smaller than most of the English authors we tested, smaller than Greek authors that we know that wrote, that we were able to test. So with Paul, and we break it down on multiple levels just because people are very skeptical. We went, small, and that's where some of the bolder claims might be made. And we built one chapter at a time, and then we do 2 chapters at a time, and then we do 3 chapters at a time, then we do whole texts, and we kind of collected patterns. We didn't base claims off of a single test run. We made sure that the majority of test runs would show the same thing in different settings and different conditions and different standards. We were encouraging people in our book to prove us wrong, and we teach them how. So we had to be very cautious on making claims that might not be accurate. So hopefully that covered a lot of it. Jaaron, did I miss anything there?
I couldn't have said it better myself.
I was going to say that was probably the most thorough answer that I've heard to any question I've ever asked. So I'll be careful to, if I'm in a hurry in the future, I'll know, to have a.
Yeah, if you want a more succinct answer, you ask me. I'll probably throw in something about your mom or say "fuck you." However, with Matthew, you're going to get it all spelled out.
You get a lecture with me, which is why I don't do TikTok too much.
That's okay. Yeah. So I've heard it. I promise that as soon as I get off this live, and I'll prove it if I need, I'm actually going to buy your book because I think I'm finally intrigued enough to start opening up the doors to mysticism. I've been pushing it off to the side because, you have other prominent New Testament scholars, historians that would tell us otherwise, that would tell us that there's really good evidence that Jesus existed. And here's the thing, when people like me who are laymen, who are, encountered by people of that level, it's very difficult for us to know, that maybe there's something that they don't know, or maybe there's something that's outside of their skill set that they're not taking into consideration. And this seems like something that just may be something that they don't really deal with. They don't deal with stilometry. They try to determine it in other ways and whatnot. But I've heard you guys say that, or I've heard Jaaron say, that there's less evidence for Paul than there is for Jesus. Is that true?
That's actually me quoting him.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yes.
That's damning. I mean, if that's true, there goes the majority of the New Testament. And if I'm mistaken, the earliest text that we have, right? The earliest dated one, is that not something Paul wrote?
Ostensibly, he wrote that. Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Huh.
But, I mean, we don't have reference to Paul and Josephus. We don't have reference to Paul and Tacitus or Pliny or any other
Or the
author.
Talmud, even though he was supposedly a Pharisee.
Right. All we have are letters with his name on it. But from that same time period, we have letters from, like, forest nymphs saying they're the wives of, like, Hercules or something. I don't remember who. But, so, like, I mean, really?
Wow. That's pretty amazing. I think you guys are actually quite fascinating. I'm looking forward to the book, and I just want to end it by saying I've got more coins than both of you, and I fucked your moms. So bye.
And he's gone.
Nick wants a knit wife. Nick Graves, get up here. Why haven't you come up to ask a question yet? La Paquette is making it rain. Thank you for all the gifts, La Paquette. We appreciate you. Now you both have more coins than Solo did. He sucks. Solo, I love you. I'm just kidding. All right, we have this person coming up. They might have a question. I don't know. What is your question, and are you over 18?
I am in fact over 18. Yes, I am. So
wait, I have to tell you a funny story. Okay, I'm gonna tell you who later. This has nothing to do with the show. This is just between me and Nick real quick. You guys don't listen for a minute. Anyway, somebody, you said, hey, I'm leaving social media, right, for a while, and you blacked out, right? During that time, eventually, you'll notice on Discord, I sent you a little message because I missed you, right? But in between that, and you'll know who, just think for a minute and you'll know right away who. Somebody, like 2 months into your hiatus, where is Nick? Why is she ignoring me? I don't think I did anything. Like, are you just noticing that Nick's not around? It was literally months into it was like,
Wow.
what? Anyway, you know who if you think about it, and if not, I'll tell you later. Okay. Anyway, go ahead. What are your questions, Nick? What is on your mind today?
Well, number one, I mean, I was just going to be in the background, and then I was really astonished to see that we have 50 people in here, and Crystal is only at 39K. And I was like, I need to come out of retirement just to tell people to double tap that screen. What? So, guys, the Antichrist is back. I'm here, and I'm telling you, get to double tapping that screen. We need to be at 100 shares. We're at like, what, 87? So even if you're pressing that copy link button, like, let's get to tapping, let's get to sharing, because the Antichrist is here, you guys. You're gonna fuck around and find out. Get to double tapping.
That's
And
right.
the question is for Matthew. Matthew, I missed you. Number one. Number two, what is your favorite peanut butter and why is it crunchy?
All I can say is yes.
All I can say is yes.
I mean, yeah, it actually would be crunchy, and the reason why is I was about to make that a really dirty joke, so I'm not going to make that joke. Let me rephrase that. Give me a second to not do that. No, I think you connect better with the peanut butter that way because you can still feel the source. You can feel pieces of those. So
The nut babies.
Yes, the
I was
nut
trying not to
babies?
say that stuff like that. Yeah, that's where that was going at first.
Little baby nuts.
Would you guys like to hear a really fun story?
No,
Of
Matthew.
course.
Yes.
Did you say crunchy peanut butter was the best? Is that what you said?
Yes.
I
That's what
think
he
I
said.
did. Yeah. That was a whole minute ago. I mean, you're asking me stuff about the past. I'm not an expert, so.
This is when the band broke up.
So
I've been trying.
Yoko
I'm trying
Ono-
to get them in their first fight.
We nearly did earlier with John the
Yoko.
Baptist.
I know. I'm trying to get them to duke it out. So this is a good one, Nick. Thank you. I'm a creamy peanut butter person myself. Nobody needs little chunks of shit in their food. Nobody needs that. Okay.
So, really, really funny story, you guys. So I've been seeing you guys fighting with Soldiers of Christ Ministries, and I want to tell you his origin story because I was there for it. So
I love it.
2 years ago, yes, 2 years ago is when I first met him, and it's when I did lives with He Who Will Not Be Named because he's worse than Beetlejuice. Anyways, so we were debating him for a while, really out to lunch Christian, like normal, not shocking. But then he started letting in that he was trying to build a cult. And this cult, they literally think that they are the literal soldiers of Christ and that Armageddon's coming and they will be the ones that slaughter us non-believers and heathens.
Oh, that's
So
so
if you
sweet,
guys-
soldiers.
Yeah. So if you guys wanted the origin story, the villain story, the villain era of Soldiers of Christ, there it is. Feel free to
Yeah.
point.
That's
Feel free
romantic.
to point and laugh.
Such a great ministry. So Jesusly loving.
Amazing. Yeah, no,
It is.
he kept telling me and he who will not be named that we were gonna find out and we were gonna regret it and blah, and that's when we figured out that he literally thinks he's a soldier for Jesus. So yeah, I thought
Well,
you guys
good luck
liked
with that.
the villain origin story for him. But anyways,
That's funny.
Exciting.
Yeah,
That is funny.
it is.
Okay, so we've talked about like how you decided on the next book, how you kind of divide up the tasks, which means that Jaaron does nothing. He just sits around and fucks people's moms all day, and you do all the work. We understand now
That's the
how that
life.
works. Okay.
Yeah.
Which of the three, the Quran, Old Testament, or Book of Mormon, has surprised you the most so far?
The Book of Mormon we knew was bullshit from the beginning.
Right, everybody did. We saw South Park.
I
Dun,
mean,
dun,
that's
dun,
basically
dun.
yeah.
The Old Testament, we're moving it later, but like we already knew that a lot of people's stance was that a lot of it was mythology to begin with. I'd say, personally, I just say out of those three, the Quran is probably the most eye-opening, because seeing that large portion of the Quran showing up as like Christian, like leftovers,
Liturgy, basically. Yeah.
That's probably the most eye-opening for me. It's probably the most surprising.
I'll give a different answer. That is a good answer, but I'm gonna give a different one just to kind of change it up. So like Jaaron said, like we knew what we were gonna generally find with the Book of Mormon. Like the details, yeah, it might be a little different here and there, but I don't think that many people really will be shocked by our findings about its legitimacy in terms of its claims. The Quran was interesting because, like Jaaron said, the divide is just impossibly too big to be a single author in any way you cut it. And then, but for the Old Testament, like, it's true that in general the claims are not that like shocking in terms of like, yeah, we're moving it forward a few hundred years when scholarship's already debunked the claims of authorship of Moses and stuff like that. But I'll say that now that I kind of have a better, in my mind, better at least understanding of its origins, I have a little bit more respect for the project, not necessarily the content, I guess. But I see what they were trying to do, and it makes it more interesting. And so, for something to have slightly improved my opinion of the Old Testament, I feel like that's shocking.
Thesis said,
I would say that it does kind of, in a weird way, improve my opinion of it. Like, I think that's another thing that kind of happened with the New Testament. Like, at first you're like, wow, these people are just, all these liars that are just getting together and lying for no reason or for whatever reason. But you almost start to see it as like artwork for the time, and you get to appreciate the artist a little more almost once you actually understand what the intent of the art was, or like what they were trying to paint. Like
Right.
I think that's kind of how it goes. Like
Right.
Like
Once because when you see it, or if you look at it as art, and you don't look at it as an attempt to write legitimate history, then like you can acknowledge all of those historical errors and say, well, like, I mean, yeah, a lot of people took it as history later on, but that wasn't, it was partially the author's goal, but it also wasn't entirely what they were trying to do, I guess.
I mean, they were more or less trying to save themselves.
So
When I was
Yeah.
doing
Fight for preservation.
like when I was doing a comparison between the Quran and the Bible, I was literally telling people I can either find something from the Quran that matches the Bible or the Bible makes it worse. And that's when I really realized how much of the Bible was actually in the Quran, just sometimes worded a little bit differently, but for the most part, I was looking back and forth like, this is the same damn thing.
one of you had said something about Christian leftovers, and Thesis would like you to explain what you meant by that. Which one of you
Huh,
said
I think
that?
I said that. But it's that we found that like 33% of the surahs or chapters in the Quran, which makes up about 50% of the content, they were just, I mean, it's just influenced by, or it's just a Christian source, more or less.
yeah, so I'll elaborate a little bit because that's I like to be wordy. But basically, what it is the Arabic-speaking population in that region, in that time period, didn't have a translation of the Bible. And so either some preachers or, monks or whatever, translated sections and stories, kind of like sermons, basically. Like if you've ever been to church and you listen to them tell a story from the Bible, they almost never like literally tell you the exact story. And they definitely leave out some of the more gruesome parts and things like that. They kind of add in details and change things a little bit for their moral point they're making with their sermon. So basically, it looks like somebody's sermon notes somehow got translated into Arabic because there was a need for Arab Christians to, convert their neighbors and stuff. And so they needed something, but they didn't have like the wealth or the infrastructure to make a full translation. So they get this, and then somebody came along, ostensibly Muhammad, right? And put it into a thing that has like, header parts, footer parts, and added in some newer material. But generally speaking, it's from that type of thing. And so Christian Leftovers is basically, it was an early, more I would say early Christian movement at first, and then kind of evolved into what we know as Islam today.
Yeah, and I would say that a lot of that evolution is simply due to it just being like geopolitically locked, or isolated, because I mean, it's if you think about like where Islam comes from, it comes from an area of the planet that's right outside of the Roman Empire, but not in it. And it grows. It's never really truly part of it. Exactly, it's just right outside of it. So it's going to have elements of Christianity. It's going to have elements of things that are being, spilled over from the Roman Empire, but it's not going to be completely it ever, really. And so it kind of takes on a life of its own.
What was the most surprising thing you found out about Islam or the Quran in doing research?
More or less, that part right there, which is that it has those Christian roots, and not only like in the text itself. Like if you just looked at that, like you kind of can piece together that it probably came from like a Christian source, but like early, it's hard to say. I want to say like Islamic inscriptions, but like again, it was developing at the time. But we'll still say that Islamic inscriptions have like crosses on them sometimes. Some of the mosques did not face Mecca at first. They faced other places. And so there clearly was a consolidation of beliefs. And it's kind of like the whole Constantine thing. Like, there's more diversity prior to that. And then like some political leader got involved and burned the other versions of the text. And we literally have the story of early Islamic history of one of those people burning texts and destroying other versions. So the text and the history reflects that. And that Christian early origins, I think, was really surprising for me, because so much scholarship, even modern scholarship, will say that it was an independent, creation of Muhammad or whatever, however you want to word that.
Some of the more paranormal stuff, like the moon splitting, was that like original to the Quran, or did you find that came from somewhere else as well?
I'd have to look at that part specifically. I don't remember where that fell in the stylometric aspect. I do remember looking in, I don't remember the surah it was in, but there's a story, it's called The Story of the Seven Sleepers, which is interesting, and it's one of those that you would think was original to the Quran, but it actually was a story that's not in the Bible, but it was a Christian story from like the 300s or 400s that was, I guess, originally in Greek, translated into Syriac, and then made its way in here. But it's very clearly like a made up like miracle story, and it's really interesting because that definitely was originally a Christian story, and they took it for some reason as like scripture or something, and it worked its way, or it found its way into the Quran. And the reason why is probably because, again, if you've been to church, they bring in stories about like, oh, this other guy was martyred for his beliefs and stuff. And the same thing here. This person probably heard this story, worked it into his sermons or whatever, and then it made its way into the Quran, and then the Quran became the religious text. So
That's really wild.
That is
That's
wild. Were there any passages in either the Book of Mormon or the Quran that that you really had to wrestle with, as far as using like proving or disproving it in any way, or its contradiction or anything like that, that you were like, okay, this really got us. We were hung up on this for a bit or something.
There are elements. That question's a little similar to how people go, hey, is there ever any argument that you hear, or any other take on this or response where you go, wow, that's actually a pretty good argument. Like, some people will message and say, hey, what is the best argument you could say for the existence of Jesus? And in a similar way, like, every once in a while people will ask us a variation of your question there, where it's like, is there anything that you would have that maybe you had trouble with at first because it was something that may actually add to the validity of the text? And in reality, I can't, well, again, for the Book of Mormon, I can't think of anything.
No, me neither.
I mean,
the
I
whole
really
story's
can't.
ridiculous.
I mean, like, there are entire websites that are devoted to trying to tackle the anachronisms, the long list of anachronisms that are in the Book of Mormon. And, like, every once in a while they may connect a little bit, and they may say, oh, well, where it says this animal here was there in the pre-Columbian North America, maybe they meant this animal or something. And it's like, well, I mean, I can kind of see where you get that, but realistically, no. But I can't think of much within the Book of Mormon or the Quran that really gave me pause and made me think, maybe there's something to it, or maybe there's a little bit more as far as like authorship goes. I think tackling the Book of Mormon and the way that like Joseph Smith actually like went about the process of doing it, like of dictating it, I think that was probably our biggest thing that we had to wrestle with, because there's multiple stories from witnesses that would see their setup, like him and his scribe, and they would say that there was a sheet that was, in between them. And we were trying to think, okay, well, if Joseph Smith is coming up with this BS, and he's working with his scribe, who is also kind of coming up with this BS, why is there a sheet in between them? And ultimately, what we kind of pieced together here is that there was a lot of pageantry, if you will, that kind of comes with what Joseph Smith, and I also believe what would come with Muhammad, who ostensibly is the author of the Quran. There's a lot of this pomp and circumstance that comes with it that makes or it attempts to make people think that there's something to it. Like, if there's a sheet in between Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery, then maybe there's a little bit more to the supernatural aspects of the story, and it's not just two guys just working together on it, And so I think every once in a while there's things that like that pop up where we're like, wait, we know this is BS, but how did they do it? And trying to figure out how they did it, I think, kind of makes it a little confusing sometimes.
Okay, so we know, obviously, if there's no Jesus, right? If we take the claims of your first book and there is no Jesus, then there would never have been a Book of Mormon. Would there have ever been an Islam?
I would say
there would
no.
not be, right?
No, I don't think so. I think, there could have been some kind of Arab nationalist type of movement that picked up on another religion of the time.
Maybe Hinduism?
Well, maybe like another form of Judaism, or like of the
Roman state, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know. Because the thing is, if Christianity had never picked up, then you've got about like 400 or 500 years before the development of Islam, and then that's a lot of time for things to have drastically changed for religious fields and political, and so it's really hard to say. But I would say definitely not that, because I don't know if Jaaron has said this on the lives, but we've said it like in private, that Islam basically takes the monotheistic claim of Christianity and really just runs with it. And it's like, no, the whole Trinity thing is silly. It's just monotheistic. And then Mormonism goes in the other direction and is like, it's more or less polytheistic. We'll call it monotheistic, but also every god has his own planet and we all become gods, and et cetera, et cetera. And so they basically go two different directions, but are doing the same thing overall. So, yeah.
It's not monotheistic, it's many-theistic.
Yeah. No, because I've heard Muslim people will come up and and be like, that's because you were a Christian. It's very confusing with the Trinity. Come to Islam. We just have one God. It's not confusing. And that's their sale tactic, that we just have one. Hey, Mesorators, welcome in. Thank you for being here. We're winding down shortly and gonna play Divine or Decline, and so you've come at the right time. Come on in, sit down, tap the screen, say hello, ask your questions, do all the good stuff. Welcome.
Yeah, if you have any questions for Matthew and I, please ask them.
Yeah. Okay, obviously we know you're going to have some contention when you release this book from the Mormons and the Muslims. What do you think that's going to be like? What do you see your future TikTok lives like, Jaaron? What is this going to look like?
I've kind of tossed around the idea of possibly having like a little bit of like a almost like a menu kind of behind, like where we could talk about Jesus not existing, Paul not existing, like 1, 2, 3, or 4, Book of Mormon or Quran. And if someone comes up, I'd be like, okay, which topic do you want? And they say number 3 or number 4, number 2, whatever. Number 2 deluxe, hold the cheese. It doesn't matter. The point is, I think the up front is the idea that Jesus didn't exist. The username will not change. It's still going to be Christ before Jesus. Ultimately, we want people to read Christ before Jesus before they get into our next book, which is called Ancient Voices Unveiled. That's what we'd like for people to do. Read CBJ before you read AVU, because it'll kind of introduce you to stellometry and everything like that. And we're also, full disclosure, we are going to price it a little higher so that people don't go in and get this book first. We don't want that. We want people to start with Christ before Jesus and then go to the other one. It's not going to be like super expensive. We're not charging like fucking $15 or $20 for the ebook. Like, that's insane. But it's going to be like maybe $7 or something like that. So.
Unless your name is Cyber Deconstruction, and then you have to pay $50.
Oh yeah, if your name is Cyber Deconstruction, you're not getting a copy of this.
You're not. No, you're paying extra just for that fact alone. What do you hope readers take away after comparing all these texts side by side?
Okay, so like, first off, I know most people aren't going to run these tests, and I understand that, and that's okay. But I would say that don't take a lot of these texts at face value and as what they claim. And then also, I would say that we should understand that world that these texts were written in, with the exception of maybe the Book of Mormon, because that's just recent and silly, that these people that wrote these texts, they lived in a very different world, and sometimes they were trying to get people to believe these literally, but oftentimes they were kind of just writing in the style and the culture they were in, and that we just won't understand that. And hopefully by reading our book, you'll understand that these things were not meant to be interpreted as we interpret them today. By we, I mean like the culture that reads the Bible as a potential source of history, which it wasn't really ever meant to be a literal history.
Someone in the comments had asked, but the comments are going so fast, so I can't remember who it was. Which book has been the most fun to write, the first one or this one?
Jaaron, you go first.
So, as far as fun goes, I mean, I'm really enjoying not having to really do anything for the second one. But the first one was a lot of fun because there was, well, there was like that understanding of even how to write a book, you know, like that we had to deal with and stuff. We hired like online. We found some guy who would do like marketing sessions with us and stuff, where he would kind of tell us like, okay, like this is what I would do and stuff. And it was really cool because he was the only marketing person would put out this blast or whatever to say, help us market our book, like help us, you know, navigate, you know, what we need to do. And we put out a blast to like 20 to 30 different marketing people. Only one person came back and said that they would work with us because of the content of our book. And
Wow.
yeah, and I don't think we ever really discussed it that much with him. You know, it's not like we sat down and were like, what are your thoughts on Jesus? You know, like we were just like, oh, hey, like what do you think we should do? You know, that kind of thing. And he understood that, you know, the book was going to have a little bit of like pushback and certain things. You know, he understood the incendiary nature of the book, but I'd say it was fun putting together the first one, definitely.
Yeah, I would lean towards the first one, and that's not to say this one, the new one, hasn't been fun, but like we were talking about earlier, we just learned so much and like changed our views so much doing the research for that first one, that like going into the second one, like we've said, Book of Mormon, we kind of already knew. The Quran, it was either one author or it was not. And then the Old Testament, we moved the dial a little bit, you know, but with the Jesus and Paul stuff, like that, I think was really exciting to be going through that research process. And then what's fun is, you know, afterwards we've continued to do like rerun these tests and things like that and learn more. And, you know, it really doesn't vary all that much from what we found in that book. We're going to be updating a few things, but for the most part, it's cool to see that our book has stood up after it's been published, which was really scary because, like Jaaron said, this was us learning for the first time, like how to write and publish and everything a book. So,
well, I was absolutely terrified when we started going live on TikTok, thinking, you know, is there anything at all that we missed?
What
Is there
if we
anything
are
at all?
doing this wrong? Like, and that's
Yeah.
one thing that, like, you know, a year and a half, 2 years later from the research and writing, that I do feel like what we found, you know, again, we make minor changes and things like that, but we did it fairly well enough that it has stood up, us running it, other people running it. And yeah, there are critiques, but a lot of times the people that I expected to give us the most legitimate critiques are just angry about it, and not actually taking it serious, because not taking it serious is an easier deflection than actually doing the investigation.
In a strange way, one of the greatest compliments that we got, and the closest thing to peer review, in my opinion, that we have, or one of the closest things we have, is an email from somebody who literally does what we do. He is religious himself. He runs stilometry on the New Testament and certain texts from 2nd century church fathers and stuff like that. He has already got books out and stuff like that. He's going to continue to have more books on this. He's published. He has a team that's working with him and stuff. And he emails us and goes, you guys must have had an inside person that you worked with who works with me, because your shit looks like my shit. You stole it from me.
You stole it, yeah. He
Yeah.
literally says,
And we were like, no, the fuck we didn't. But that's
This
a
is a guy
really
with a PhD,
cool
yeah.
moment for us.
yeah.
Wow.
I mean, it was kind of scary because he threatened to sue, and he revealed that he had like filed copyright things against us on Amazon, and he even reached out to some group in the EU to try to get us sued in Europe and stuff like that, because he was like, you stole. Somebody said Bilby. I wonder who that is. Yeah, that's him.
No.
It's
No.
not. No, it's
I have at a certain point, I decided that I'm just going to call him out, and so yeah, it was Mark Bilby who was talking shit.
yeah.
Wow.
But I mean, it's here's an actual scholar that is saying, hey, you must have had some kind of advanced information about what I'm doing, because what you just put out is something that is harming me monetarily and everything like that, because it's what I say.
Yeah, he said we were, and it's a term in the field called academic scooping or just scooping, basically where you find out about somebody's research and then you release it before them. He thought we did that because he thought one of his team members went to us privately, revealed all the information, and I think he literally said, like, revealed the exact type of graph we use, the dendrograms, and it was pretty wild. And it's kind of scary too at first, because it was like, whoa, like big legal threats here. But then, it was also cool because, like, we're validating our work by, like, apparently threatening this guy's life,
Yeah. But,
project.
I mean, he would never admit publicly that, like, we did a good job, but, or that, his work looks like ours or ours looks like his. He's never going to admit that publicly. But it just kind of goes to show you, like, people are clamoring for, like, oh, why are there not, like, these scholars that talk about what you do and stuff? And it's like, no, they fucking do. They just fucking hate us.
I just wanted to let you know there was another reason I brought Nick up here, and that's because we're scooping you guys, and we are releasing our book today about the Book of Mormon, the Quran. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. We're not doing that. We don't have shit, okay? We don't work. We're not doing that.
Oh, we got a question. There's an all caps question. Somebody listen.
Okay, what? There are critiques of your stylometry due to sample size. How do you respond? Great book.
Thank you. So yeah, there are things critiquing that, but they must not have actually read the full book, and they must not be in our TikTok lives, because yes, so there are sample size limitations. We've since run even more tests on it. But the general thing is that even at the level we run it, that's low end, it's enough. And then second, we group chapters together. And so, yes, we do run single chapter or single passage tests. And then we also run 2 chapters at a time. We'll group chapters together. And that alone is plenty. Sometimes we group 3 or 4 chapters together. Sometimes we run whole texts. And generally speaking, the trends stay the exact same. So, like, even if you're worried about, like, oh, they only ran samples around 500 words or whatever, well, we run them at 1,000 words. We run them at 1,500 words. Yeah. We run whole texts, like, generally speaking.
Here's the beauty of it. The one thing that those critiques are never going to fucking say, and hear it from me right now, and hear it for me for probably the 100th time, and I swear probably not the last either. But listen. They will never tell you that we actually do find things that they agree with. Mm-hmm. We don't just find crazy things about, like, Paul or the Gospel of Luke or something like that. We find things that scholars have been talking about for years, sometimes centuries, and we confirm it using the stylometry. So when someone sits back and goes, no, they can't do that with Paul. Nope. Or someone will even say, sometimes they say, you can't do that with Greek. Okay, then why is it that when it's something that you disagree with, you say that it can't work in Greek, you say you can't do it with the New Testament, you can't do it at that size, but then when it's something you agree with, you mum is the word. You don't say anything. You don't say anything when we say that the Gospel of John is not from the same person who wrote Revelation. You don't say anything whenever we say that the beginning of Luke is very clearly the same person who wrote Acts. You're not saying anything when we're showing how stylometrically you have the synoptic problem. Like,
or the long ending of Mark is not by the same author as the same guy. Yeah. Like,
or John 8 is not from the, like, we're seeing all these different things. We're seeing all these different things that scholars have said for hundreds of years, and some other things. And these critiques are absolutely half-assed attempts at trying to say that the things that they disagree with or don't like or don't know about are somehow just wrong magically.
Yeah.
Really quickly, you guys, we have 151 viewers right now. Crystal is still only sitting at 57.1K. If we can get to double tapping that screen, please. I see you guys double tap, and yes, even though I've been in retirement, I've been watching from the background. I see you all double tap for the other major creators, so let's get to double tapping and show Crystal the same love that you show the other guys. Let's get going.
And you guys, welcome in all the Mezzo and Joel Raiders. I know it's Mezzo's show, but we know that it's really about Joel and his sweater and his glasses. Anyway, so welcome.
Everything's
Hey,
about
hey, Joyful. Good morning. Listen, you guys, it's about time for everybody's favorite game, Divine or Decline. So if you would like to play, put your request in the box, come on up and play the game. If you don't request, I'm dragging your ass up here anyway, so come on up. Let's play the game. Let's get this game going. We got this guy. I don't think he knows the Bible very well, though. Let's see. Good morning. Brian, how are you this morning? Only a little bit. Only a little bit. Double Donkey, why don't you come up and play with us? You should play with us. Who else do we see? I would invite Soldier, but I don't think that he would come up and play nice. Joyful Slice, do you want to come up and play? Who else do we got down here today? Where's Schley at? I thought I saw Schley in here a minute ago. Who else do we got? Oh, we got Buddy. Buddy, you should come up.
If the game was called Decline or Church Fathers, I think our special guest would nail it. Decline or Tacitus? Am I right?
You're right.
Decline or Clement of Rome? Am I right?
Actually, we did play a little different version of this game. I think the first time, didn't I do some church father shit with you guys the first
Decline
time we
or
played?
You're an Anus?
And you had to tell me which church father said it or something. Okay. All right. That is just, what are you? Are you a mango? What is that?
Don't worry about it.
Don't worry about it.
He is what he is.
It's a lemon.
He, it's a lemon.
It's a lemon.
Okay.
I got sent this by Joe the Nuggetist, and it was really cool.
It's pronounced Josephus.
No, it's I can't. It's Joe the not gonna work here anymore.
Mm.
Okay. All right, you guys, let me refresh your memory about the rules because it's a very difficult game to follow, as we learned recently. I'm going to read a phrase. If it's from the Bible, it's divine. Okay? And I've been lying to you guys all along and telling you that the New American Standard Bible is copyright free. And it's not. I lied about that. It's the American Standard, not the New American Standard. So my verses are from the American Standard Bible. And if it is wrong, or if it is from the Quran, the Book of Mormon, or I made it up, it's decline. So lots of declines, only Holy Bible divine, okay? Only the Holy Bible, and it has to be the American Standard Version. Okay, so, by the way, points don't matter until the last round. I'll be starting with Schley, and I'll be working my way down the panel, okay? It's simple. Divine or decline. And when you say divine, you are not committing yourself to saying that that is actually divine scripture from God himself, okay? I'm not saying that, okay? It's just a game. It's just a word. All right. Last time I had, or not last time, a couple of times ago, I had this Christian on who, for some reason, didn't want to say things were divine. It made him... It made him uneasy. Okay, everybody ready? Here we go. Number 1. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it because on it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. Schley.
Divine.
Joel.
I feel like this is one of your tricky ones. I'm going to say decline.
Nick.
She is tricky.
Divine.
All right, Matthew.
I'm gonna say the same decline. It sounds like a rewording.
All right, Christ before Jesus, Lemonhead. What do you say?
Oh, sorry. We will go with divine.
Can I
Make
call
it
you
so.
Harpo now? You remind me of Harpo Marx. Ellis, you just joined. You just joined the panel here. Do you want to weigh in, divine or decline?
What's the question?
Okay, here it is. Then God blessed the seventh day and sanctified it, because on it he rested from all his work which God had created and made. Is that divine or decline?
I'm gonna say yes, so I guess that's divine. I'm assuming.
Okay. All right. That is divine, you guys. That's Genesis
What?
2:3.
What?
That is Genesis
That's bad
2:3.
wording. That's
Joel
horrible.
sucks.
wording.
It's the American standard. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness,
yeah.
that's trash. The
I
work
know,
that
I'm
he had
telling you.
created and done or something, that's horrible.
His work which God had created and made. That's the word.
What?
Okay.
What kind of sentence is that?
I don't know. I didn't write it. There are ones I did write though, so we'll see
Oh
if
my
you
goodness.
critique those as bad. All right, here we go. Number 2. And the people gathered with their swords, declaring that no law could bind them but their own strength. Ellis. I'm sorry, Ellis.
Yeah.
Oh, divine or decline?
Oh.
Yep.
Just yeah.
Are you quoting a scripture?
Wait, do you know what we're doing?
No.
Do you know what we're doing, Ellis?
Liz.
Okay.
I
I'm
don't.
reading you. I'm reading you a phrase. If you think it's from the Bible, it's divine. If it's from any other work, the Quran, the Book of Mormon, or I made it up, it's decline. So if you think that's from the Bible, it's divine. If you don't, it's decline.
Okay. Sorry. Could you run the phrase by me one more time? I apologize.
Yes. And the people gathered with their swords, declaring that no law could bind them but their own strength.
See, I probably used a different translation, so it sounds familiar, but I'm just gonna say decline for this one. 'Cause I can't think
Okay,
of-
Schley.
I'm thinking decline too.
All right, Joel.
Decline.
All right, Nick.
Decline.
All right, Matthew. Ellis, I'm
Decline, I
going to
think
mute
it's-
you when you're not talking because you have a lot of background noise.
I'm gonna guess Book of Mormon, so decline.
Okay, Christ before Jesus. okay, Satan.
Decline.
That is decline. That is just made up bullshit.
Oh.
All right.
Book
Next
of Mormon.
up. Yeah, like all of it is. Okay. So whoever does an Adam's way of good will see it, and whoever does an Adam's way of evil will see it. Ellis.
Decline.
Schley.
Decline.
Joel.
I'm going to decline that as well. And I want to say that I'm
Nick.
impressed that Jaaron knows how to do puppet really well. Like, that's good puppeteering. Sorry.
He is pretty good at it. Nick.
Also decline.
Matthew.
I'm gonna divine.
All right. Satan.
I'm gonna go with divine.
That one is decline. That's from the Quran 99:7a.
Oh, Satan.
And they
What's
say
your
that
word?
Satan knows the Bible?
Who's they?
Stop it.
The Bible.
Christians.
Well, that's your problem.
All right. Number 4. But as for me, I know know that my Redeemer lives, and at the last he will take his stand on the earth. Ellis.
That one's tricky. I'm gonna say divine because it sounds similar to a scripture I know.
All right, Schley.
Isn't it a worship song? My Redeemer lives. Something. I don't know.
Probably.
I guess divine.
Okay, Joel.
I think it's divine if you count the fictional character known as Paul as a divine entity. I'm pretty sure the fictional character of Paul wrote that. I don't quite. I'm not sure, but that's my best guess.
Okay.
Divine.
Okay, Nick.
I'm gonna go with divine on this one.
Okay,
I'm gonna
Matthew.
say decline.
Okay, Satan.
Much like myself, I would call it divine.
You are correct. It is divine, but Joel, it was not Paul. This would be
Damn
found
it.
in Job. 1925.
Job?
I knew you were gonna love it.
Oh gosh, that is Job.
But,
So-
the reason I know that one is because I'm in that book.
I was there for that.
Yeah.
You were there.
I personally, I was personally told to lay hands on Job.
Okay. Number 5.
Why do I have
And
big
can-
screen?
Because
This is awkward
you-
as shit.
I just thought it was better than me being on the big screen. I was like, let's
Studying
Satan
how
take
to
over for a
file
little
my
bit.
eyebrows.
What?
We're gonna put Schley up and she can do her eyebrows while we play the game. All right, I'll go back to big screen, Satan. I thought you were the big cheese. I thought you would want to be the big screen. I'm just saying, you're Satan, you know?
This
Okay.
this is killing Jaaron's arm.
Oh, poor
Maybe
Jaaron.
he should
Okay.
get like Joshua and Caleb to come help hold it up or something.
Maybe
Yeah.
Joel
Joshua and
can,
Caleb are...
maybe Joel can shut the fuck up.
Oh, sorry, Sid.
Okay, and it came to pass that he smote the stones together until they did shine forth in the darkness. Ellis.
Decline.
Schley.
I was not listening.
Okay.
Decline.
Okay, Joel.
What did they do with the rocks?
And it came to pass that he smote the stones together until they did shine forth in the darkness.
Oh, I see what that is, like a
Smote?
flint. I'm gonna say decline.
All right. Nick.
Decline.
Matthew.
And it came to pass that I said it's decline.
Okay. Christ before Jesus.
I don't like how
I
that
like-
one rolled out, but
Jared,
what did I
what
do to
say
deserve
you?
that?
I don't know. It just. Oh my.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with decline on that one.
It is declined. That is the Book of Mormon, Ether 6:3. I don't know. Is it Ether or Ether? Like, what is it?
Ether.
What's the
I believe
name?
it's ether.
It is Ether?
It's
That's
ether.
weird.
Crystal.
Isn't that a gas?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it knocks you out.
life's a gas. But it sounds like the old American standard, if anything. So you got to be mindful of that. You told us it's the new American standard. It would never say smoked.
I told you that I was wrong about the New American Standard, so I changed it to the American Standard because I was
Oh, well,
wrong
oh.
all this time.
All right, well then maybe
That's
they
what
would
I
say smoke.
said.
Okay, I misunderstood.
They
All
would.
right.
They would smoke. Okay. Okay. The fool has said in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They have committed detestable acts. Ellis.
I was gonna say divine at first, but then you kept going, and that doesn't sound familiar. I'm still gonna say divine. I think it's
Maybe
more to
Christians don't yell that at you enough. Is that what you're saying?
Oh.
Slay.
No, don't know. It sounds just nasty enough to be Bible. So,
Okay.
divine.
All right, Joel.
I think it's going to be divine, and if it's declined because you added an extra half of a verse that wasn't in there, then that's absolutely horrific and rude, because the first
Very
part
rude.
is divine.
Okay, Nick.
Divine.
All right, Matthew. All right, Jaaron.
I'm gonna have to go with divine.
That is divine. I didn't add anything. You guys just never heard the rest of the verse because they just yell at
Right.
you from the comments saying the fool says there is no God. That's why you didn't know the rest of it. They don't yell the whole thing. They don't know the whole thing. They've never read it. Okay. That was Psalms 14:1, by the way, in case anybody wants to, Christians want to write that down so they can yell it at us in the future. Okay. Number 7, those who spend their wealth by night and by day, secretly and publicly, will have their reward with God. Ellis.
First of all, as a Christian, I will say I will not be yelling at any of you guys. As far as the scripture, I will say divine.
Oh,
All right,
wow.
Schley.
Wait, Alice is a Christian. I didn't know this. Decline.
All right, Joel.
I'm going to decline this one as well.
All right, Nick.
Decline.
All right, Matthew.
Decline.
All right, Jaaron.
What were the first few words that you read there?
It is those who spend their wealth by night and by day. You want me to read the whole
Spend
thing?
their wealth?
Spend their wealth as
Spend their wealth by night and by day, secretly and publicly, will have the reward with God.
Yeah, I'd say that's divine.
Okay, it's declined. That's from the Quran. That is 274. I don't know what any of those numbers mean. I have a Quran, have not read it at all, so I don't even know what those numbers mean. Okay, but that's what it is. All right, and number 8, and the trees of the field shall clap their hands when the Lord passes by in majesty. Ellis.
Decline.
Schley.
Cute. I guess decline. I don't know.
Joel.
100% divine, no question.
Okay, Nick.
I might have to go divine on this one.
All right, Matthew.
Divine.
All right, Jaaron.
Divine.
That's decline. I made that up.
Oh
Trees
my
don't have
goodness,
hands.
monster!
Oh yeah.
You can't
Trees
base
don't
it
have-
so closely on the real thing. That's rude.
Okay, let's go number 9. But now faith, hope, and love remain, these 3. But the greatest of these is love. Ellis.
Easy, divine.
All right, Schley.
Divine.
All right, Joel.
30% divine.
Nick.
My confidence is shot.
Oh,
Divine.
All right, Matthew.
Divine.
All right, Jaaron.
So it sounds rather divine. It sounds that way, but I think that there's probably something to do with the numbers or something that so we're going decline. We're doing that.
Okay. Well, that is divine. That is 1 Corinthians 13:13. So your lucky numbers right there, 13:13. All right, you guys, this is the final question. It's very important because all the marbles are on the table. Every single person who gets this right gets eternal life. Okay, so it's all at stake right now. You're either going to hell or you're going to heaven. Get this right, okay? Ready? Number 10. And it came to pass that we did wander in the wilderness, bearing much affliction, until we did find rest by the river. Ellis.
I'm gonna say decline.
Schley,
Decline.
Joel,
I'm going to say decline as well.
Nick,
Decline.
Matthew,
Decline.
Jaaron,
Divine.
Woo.
Oh.
Jaaron, you're going to hell, motherfucker. They all got it right. You, Liz.
Crystal, I got all of them right.
What?
I got all
You're
of
the
them right.
first
I
one.
got all of them right. I've never done that. I'm very
Slay.
proud.
Nobody
I know,
has.
Bible.
Nobody has ever done that. You guys send her some gifts. Send her some roses or some. Nobody. No, I have had Bash in the comments before. Thinker has been on. Justin has been on. Joel, Mezzo, Jaaron, Matthew. Everybody's been up here, and you are the first to get 100%. Fee got 9 out of 10. But you're the first to
No way.
get 100%.
That's not.
Yeah,
That's not
that's real. That is real. You are the best Christian. You are the real Christian. The only real Christian ever. We found her, you guys.
I'm not
You're the
excited.
only actual Christian. Okay, listen, Jaaron, when do you go live again?
I would say it'll probably be tomorrow. Probably tomorrow around about 9 to 10 a.m. Central.
All right, that sounds great. Matthew, it is always a pleasure seeing you and talking with you, hanging out with you. I know that we don't see you very much, but it's really good having you here. Ellis, I dropped you down because I'm bringing somebody up real quick. Thank you for joining us. I hope we can do this again in another 6 months. When do you guys think the book will be released?
I'm
gonna defer to the main author Matthew on this one.
I would like to get it out by Christmas, but I can't guarantee that.
And,
Okay.
I mean, a lot of the problem is the fact that there's still a lot of stuff in there that, you know, we've got to go over just to make sure that none of our more recent research has, you know, upended it. And we're constantly running things. We're constantly finding things that we want to include. Part of the issue isn't, you know, with me going live, isn't just that I'm not writing, but also, so there's an amazing deconstruction community here on TikTok and an amazing community over there at Christ Before Jesus, you know, that follows us and hops up there and brings up points and stuff like that. And so as a result, people are constantly messaging me and saying, hey, have you guys seen this? You know, have you looked into this? You know, or take a look at this particular verse. You know, this is how I read it. This is how I interpret it. You know, that kind of thing to try to see if there's anything that it's like a whole bunch of people mining in a river for gold. And every time we find more gold, we want to try to make sure that it's added in there. We want to have this as chopped to the brim or filled to the brim with gold as possible. So, you know, we're constantly having to update stuff and put more into it. So it's just kind of, it's a work in progress, but we're just about done with all the sections.
It is mostly written. The thing is, like, the final finishes, and then we got to go through and both read it again and edit and then format, and so we're close. It's just the last few steps can be time consuming.
All right. Grandma, did you have something you wanted to come back up here and say real quick?
Oh, yes. Now, the verse you said that has the trees of the field in it, I believe that most of that wasn't in the Bible, but there is a scripture verse that says the trees of the field will clap their hands. I know, because there's even a song, and the trees of the field will clap their hands. From the 70s, that song is.
Yeah, I know that song. That's what I thought it was for sure in the Bible.
Exactly. So I just wanted to
hang
say
on.
that.
I'm pretty sure Grana and Joel both went to Muslim churches.
Nope.
You know, I can drop you, Jaaron. I'm able to. I have mod powers on this live.
Okay. Isaiah 55:12 says, "For you will go out with joy and be led in peace. The mountains and the hills will break into shouts of joy before you, and all the trees of the field will clap their hands." So yes,
Thank
there
you.
is a verse that says clap their hands, but my verse
The rest of it was made up, I believe. But you said
clap
the
the
trees of
That was rude.
you said the trees of the field can't clap their hands. I'm like, well, only in the Bible can they. So
True, and I do get my inspiration from the Bible because that's the whole point of the freaking game.
it's tricky. That's what it
It
is.
is tricky for sure, but yes, you're right. Isaiah 55:12 does say that. Well, you guys, it has been wonderful. I am going to be live again. I don't remember when, and I'm really bad about this lately. I don't know why I can't. Let me see. I think I might have it on the deconstruction. Oh man, you guys, I've been putting tabs in my Bible based on Justin's cheat sheet. There's every page has a tab on it now. What? Mezzo, you are so late. You are just so late. But thanks for being here, Mezzo, and thanks for sending all your raiders my way. I really appreciate that. Let me check the events calendar. And no, I don't have any of it on the Deconstruction Junction. So, you know, I will be live on Wednesday for Non-Believers Bible Study. And then just follow me. Follow me. Subscribe on my YouTube. Joel, why don't you let me say goodbye to you? How rude. So rude, dude.
By the way,
Anyway,
incredible interview today, Crystal. You picked the perfect people to come up.
thank you. Well, we've got great creators in this community. Now, I don't know if any of you guys have had. Joel, thank you for coming up. I really love and appreciate you. I hope you guys are all following Joel Reads Bible. And if you ever need to read the Bible but don't want to, just go to his YouTube. He'll read it to you. It's funny, and it's better than reading that shit yourself. Granted doesn't go live. Slay doesn't go live. Nick doesn't go live. Matthew doesn't go live. But Christ Before Jesus and I do. So follow us, show us love, do the things. Christ Before Jesus. Whenever you see Jaaron live, you will know that the book is going to take another month because Matthew's doing all the work. So make sure you give him shit whenever you see that he goes live, okay? Because he's not doing the work that we need him to do. You guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for the 71,000 likes, all the gifts, all the love. I hope to see you guys in another 6 months. And I think that the commenter was right. You should release that book on December 25th. Happy birthday, Jesus. That's when you should release that book. All right. I love you guys. I'll see you around the mean streets of TikTok.